Hello, everybody, welcome to Unscripted Access, episode number 116. You're here with your host, Nick McCandless. On this week's show, we have Anthony Ta.
Hello.
And finally making a return, Bronson Fiore.
Hey guys, I'm back. I heard it was a real tire fire without me, so I decided to come back. Actually, that's not true. I heard you guys have been doing a good job. It's just that I've been working late. Like, I've been getting out of work at 7, and you're like, well, we record at 8 o'clock. And I'm like, well, I usually don't get home until 8:30 because of my bus ride. So, causing problems. But today, I was lucky and we got off at 5. So.
Cool. So, so how's everyone's week been going? I've had a pretty crazy week, as you guys know. I've been in the process of rebuilding my PC. So it all started with a Google search, guys. So here I am. I have an idea of what I'm gonna get for my tax return. I'm like, okay, cool. Some more money, great. And then one day I just decided to look up 4K gaming on PC. I can't tell you what told me to look it up. I can't tell you why I looked it up, but I did. And that
why am I picturing like the Ron Burgundy thing of like I immediately regret this decision?
Yeah, this is like the perfect next. This should be like the next TGA comic, like for real. So this simple Google search then turned into like 2 or 3 hours of me watching a bunch of videos and reading a bunch of stuff, and I was just like, I don't have any expenses coming up. I have money saved up my savings account. I was like, why don't I just think about upgrading my PC? Just think about it. Take a look. So I'm like, okay.
I have a quick question about this. Was part of this internet search that video I sent you?
No, that came on after, but I did watch that. We'll get into that in a second. But so I'm like, okay, cool. I was like, my machine's already pretty good. I have a 660 Ti. So obviously with some of the newer games, like it can't necessarily run on max for 1080p, but it's a decent card. But come to find out that, I built this thing like 3.5 years ago, somewhere like that. I built it like right when the 660 Ti came out. So whenever the 660 Ti came out, that's when I built this machine.
That was like 2012, I think. That's what I remember.
Yeah, so maybe it's definitely been 3 years for sure though. But regardless, so I built this machine. At the time, AMD CPUs were pretty good. So at the time, I bought their best Phenom 2 X4 processor, which is the 980 Black Edition. So I bought it, and then got the 660 Ti. Put 16 gigabytes of RAM in there. I was ready to go, and I played a lot of PC games leading up to when the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One came out because the games looked so much better. It was ridiculous because at that point, the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 were so aged. And yes, you look at the games like The Last of Us and Grand Theft Auto 5, what they were able to pull off on those consoles is absolutely mind-blowing.
But man, let me tell you, did you ever play Metal Gear Rising?
I did not play Rising.
Okay, let me tell you, that shit on PC just shat all over the console version. It looked so fucking good on PC. It was ridiculous.
I had it, so I hadn't turned on my PC in probably over 6 to 8 months. But I started reading this, and I was like, let me just check some things out. So I played Borderlands 2, a game that's been out for, 3 or 4 years now. And
Borderlands 2 is 3 years old this coming September. I actually have a really good memory of that game because the whole reason I bought it was because of a PAX demo. I did not give a shit about that game, and I played it at PAX, and a bunch of people I was hanging out with at the time played the PAX demo and were like, fuck yeah, we should all get Borderlands. That game, man, that first one wasn't very good, but this fucking second one.
Borderlands 2 was amazing. It was my game of the year that year. I freaking love that game.
That game was great. Have you actually got to play the point-and-click adventure game yet, Tales from the Borderlands?
I have not played Tales of Borderlands yet.
It is really funny. Hey, you'll be able to play that on your new PC. And have it not control terrible, because it's a point-and-click game.
Yeah. So I went ahead and just turned on Borderlands 2, and I just want to see what would happen, just see what it looked like, whatever. That game, because the thing is, Borderlands 2, the 660 Ti, they promoted really heavily with Borderlands 2, just because of the fact that it runs it 1080p max settings at like 100 frames per second, something ridiculous like that. So I played it, and Borderlands 2 still stands up to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
It's because part of it's because of the art. Like that game, like that art, man. Like I have that game on my PC and I run it at around 60 frames. Because you have a 660 Ti, mine's a 650, or the laptop equivalent of. And yeah, that game still looks great. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, but it looks really, really good. So eventually this came into me in a lot of research, and kind of found out that, yeah, let me just go ahead and upgrade my GPU. And a couple days later, after talking to Anthony Bronson and then doing some tests myself with some software, I was like, yeah, it's not going to happen. My CPU's pretty much already bottlenecking my system. The 660 Ti has outlived the processor because, for example, I have Unity on PC. And I mean, it depends on the game. So Unity, for example, very much uses the CPU because of all the AI and all the characters you've got.
Let me tell you, Unity is optimized like shit. So that is something that you need to remember about Unity. Now, granted, that game is optimized like shit on consoles too, because it was rushed. But still.
Oh yeah. But regardless, so I was using MSI, I think they call it Afterburner, and that's where you can see like frames per second, CPU, GPU usage. So I was running it, and my GPU was only hitting like 60-70% usage, and when you have a proper system set up, your GPU should always be running at 99-100%. And then I looked at my CPU, and all my CPU cores were running at 100%, and my GPU was at like 60-70%. So my CPU was completely throwing off my entire computer. So I was like, okay, I need to get a new CPU. I'm like, let me see what AMD has. AMD doesn't have jack shit. I've learned that AMD in the realm of CPUs is no longer even a competitor. You could go with like their 8350, but their 8350 only competes with like a midline i5. And that's AMD, that's on the top one. Yeah, and I was like, okay, fuck AMD. Well, guess what? That means I need to get a new motherboard now. So I'm like, okay, I need to get a new motherboard.
Your present motherboard actually didn't do anything. Actually, your present motherboard wasn't that great either because all you could do was like a 6000 series, which was like a 6-core blah. Yes.
Right. So I was like, okay, well, at least I'll still be able to use my RAM, my case, my fans, my hard drive, and so on. Well, I did more research. So I was dedicated. I want to go with a 980, 970 SLI, but the 970s had some issues with its video RAM. I don't want to mess with that. Plus, in the future, I'm planning to have a 4K capable machine. So with that said, I was like, let me go with a 980. And then in the future, I'll buy another 980, and I'll run 980 SLI.
Let me tell you, this sounds like the exact logic that happens to me every time I think about buying a computer. Literally the exact logic and thought process I go through. So don't feel bad. Yeah,
so I was like, I'll just buy a 980, and I'll get another 980, and have a 980 SLI probably later this year, and I'll be running 4K. I'm like, great. Well, so look at the processors. And I was looking at the 4790, which is pretty much the top of the line, 4th generation Intel i7. I was like, let me look at this. Well, then I started to do more research and looked around, and I saw Intel had this processor called the 5820 that is 6 cores, and it runs the brand new X99 chipset, and it was only $50 more. And I'm like, shit, I'm going to be doing 4K gaming with this thing. I want to build this for the future for $50 more. Why don't I just buy the 5820? So I did that, and I was like, holy crap. This X99 chipset is brand spanking new, so the motherboards are expensive. I ended up finding what that was.
Well, here's the thing: is that when you get a 6-core, No. When you freaking get like a 6-core processor, that's like Intel's like some of Intel's top product. And what goes with top product? Well, you need the fanciest of motherboards. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I found one for a reasonable price. I was like, cool. Well, it gets even worse. It says that with this processor, with this motherboard, that you have to use DDR4. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to pay a lot of money for DDR4, so I'll just use my DDR3 RAM on a DDR4 motherboard. Come to find out, that's not possible.
They're not like, okay, even physically compatible. Freaking DDR4 is so different from DDR3.
Yeah, so, and I find out that, oh, great, now I have to get DDR4 RAM. I was like, okay, RAM's not expensive. Until I checked out the price of DDR4 RAM, and 16 gigabytes of it's like $300 freaking dollars. So I'm almost spending as much on RAM as I did on my freaking CPU. So this became the process.
This whole process is fantastic. I'm loving where this is going, by the way. Keep going. Keep the story going.
Yeah, so this process, okay, I'll invest $550 and buy a 980 and call it a fucking day, has turned into, oh, I'm buying this brand new Intel 5820. Oh, I still have to buy the GTX 980. Oh, I gotta buy a brand new motherboard. Oh yeah, I have to buy DDR4 RAM. And I'm like, hold up a second. I have a 600 watt power supply. I'm like, could it run it? Probably yes. I was checking multiple calculators, and minimum, it was saying with that build, it should be 500 watts. But that's minimum. Well, I don't want to run into an issue where wattage is a problem and I end up hurting my electronics. So I was like, let me just look at 1,000 watts. I was like, 1,000 watts, okay, cool. As I browsed Amazon more, I saw they had a 1,300 watt for only $15 more. And I'm like, why don't I spend an extra $15 to never have to worry about power again in my life?
Oh, man.
Anthony,
this whole build just screams of, I never have to worry about anything for the rest of my life. $2,500.
So, I have my big purchases of electronics planned out. The end of this year, I'm going to be getting a new television because I picked the TV I want. It's actually, I managed to stay at exactly $600. It's Vizio's best 50-inch that is not 4K. I looked up all the stuff on it. It plays games great, but you do have to put it in game mode, which that's fine. Like, okay, I have to press a button on my remote. Not that big of a deal. I'm saving a good chunk of change, all this other stuff. And then the end of 2016, I'm going to have a budget for a computer that is going to be $1,500. And Anthony is going to be helping me with this. And I really hope that Anthony doesn't let me go completely fucking insane with this.
Yeah, like I have.
Like...
The thing is that I was giving Nick consulting advice about this whole thing, and I'm just like, man, why did I let Nick run off with this?
Yeah, like...
yeah, well, it's not even over, guys. It's still not over, believe it or not.
Are you putting a Blu-ray drive in this thing?
No, I'm not going that far.
That's like the only thing that he's saving money on.
No, if
I might as well at this point.
No, if I was gonna do Blu-ray, I have a PlayStation 4 hooked up to my TV, so why would I do Blu-ray? I have no reason to.
Man, you might as well. You've already gone this far. You might as well just ride this train straight to hell.
Well, yeah, but at least every decision I've made benefits in a way, So okay, here's the thing. So here I am. I'm sending I put, like, my computer, when I built it, like, cooling, I made sure that it was overkill. So there's 3 huge fans. There's 2 huge fans. There's 2 other pretty big fans, and there's 1 small fan. And then I bought this super nice Cooler Master V8 CPU cooler, like, super nice. Looks really cool, whatever. So I'm like, okay, it has the universal mounting bracket. Awesome. So I'll be able to use that. Until I send a picture, Anthony sees it, and he's like, Nick, no, that is an older version of it, and that uses the wrong socket. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So it's like, here's the thing, like, yes, at this point I've already spent enough money, so what's another $50 or whatever, you know? But it's just like
you might as well like just ride this train straight to hell at this point. Like that. Like here's the thing: if I'm at the point where I'm spending fucking $2,500, that's when I'm just like fuck it. At that like that's the point. Like I'm gonna have a strict budget of $1,500. I'm gonna give Anthony a little like $100 worth of wiggle room, and try and get a couple of discounts out of my job. But for the most part, like it's gonna be a strong $1,500. But if I went to the insanity that you have, like I said, you might as well just ride this train straight to hell.
Well, yeah. So I like okay, whatever. We found a good one, $50. Okay, I ordered it. Then, well, this happened before, but my next step. Okay, you guys think it's over with, but it's really not. Now we're getting there, guys. We're finally. So, like I said, at the end of the day, the only thing that is going to stay with the PC I had before is the case and fans.
What about everything the DVD drive, or did it not have a DVD drive?
Well, the DVD drive I never used it. And the funny thing is, the DVD drive I have in there is like a DVD drive from like a cheap HP desktop from like 7-8 years ago. Just because I never use it. I never use it, but I have it in there.
Oh man, you might want to consider a new drive because if it uses IDE, your new motherboard's not going to work with it.
Oh my god.
That is what Nick lost it. So there you go. There's your excuse to get a Blu-ray drive. We just found it.
No, like, does it use the ribbon type or does it use like those narrow cables?
That I would need to double check.
Okay, if it uses the ribbon type, you're gonna have to get a new DVD drive because SATA's the thing now.
I'm pretty sure
a new DVD drive is only like $15-$20.
I'm about 100% sure it is SATA. The reason why I say that, and it wasn't 7-8 years ago, it wasn't that long ago. It was more like maybe 5 years ago. The reason why I say it's SATA is I'm pretty sure I used the exact same connection I used for my hard drives. So I'm pretty sure it's SATA. But thing is, even if well, first of all, I wouldn't buy a Blu-ray drive just because, like I said, I have my PlayStation 4 connected to the same TV on my desktop.
But man, that you will not like. Let's be honest here. Most of the games that come out are multi-plat. You might as well just turn this bitch into a media PC. Fucking only turn on your consoles when you need to. There you go.
But here's the thing. That's going to where you're like being like unreasonable there because like I said, my PC.
You have a 6-core processor in this thing.
Well, here's the thing. Can you use a game controller to control your DVD on your PC? That's the thing. And not to mention the PS4. It's a pretty darn good Blu-ray player, and it's quieter, and it doesn't eat up like 500 watts an hour watching Blu-ray.
Yeah, that is true.
Well, yeah,
so like a DVD drive is only like $15-$20, so it is a very inexpensive thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just the $20 here, the $10 here, the $50 here. It all adds up. But yeah, so moving along, and I'm like, this was a little bit while ago. I'm like, SSDs. I put SSDs in my MacBook, and I would never go back. And I'm like, why the fuck am I building a gaming desktop and still going to use freaking hard drives?
Oh my god!
I was like, let me look at SSDs. I looked at the speed difference. I'm like, holy shit, I'm going SSD. So then I looked at most configurations. They have like 120 gigabyte SSD and then let's say 2 terabytes in hard drives. My current setup is ridiculous. I have a 1 terabyte, which is just the OS, and then I have 6 terabytes in a RAID 0. So it's 2 3 terabyte hard drives rated 0 together. That's my current setup. But no, I want to go SSD. So looking at SSDs, and I want to make sure that all my games are on the SSD. Every game. So I started looking. Like a decent 500 gigabyte SSD. Yeah, it's about $280. And I was like, hold up a second. A 960 gigabyte SSD? What does this go for? Only about $100 more. It's like $120 more.
This logic is.
Yeah, it's whole like, oh, it's only $100 more. It's only $50 more. It's turned into $1,000 difference.
I get 50% more for 20% more cost. Yeah, I get it. That logic is how freaking expensive stuff sells.
This is what I like. Once again, I'm going into my next computer with a strict $1,500 budget. I really hope I don't
say that. And then some game's gonna come out on the PC that's gonna beg for you to step up to a 990 or something. or whatever their new series is at that point.
Yeah,
a fucking 1000. I really hope they call their next fucking set the 1000s.
The 1900.
No, I want them to call their next set the 1000. That would be
okay. Well,
perfect.
then how do you split that into 1000?
They'll probably come up like they've got like the Titan. They'll probably come up with something else. I think they're gonna go away from numbers.
Well,
we'll see.
No, well, computer guys like numbers. You know how everything about computer. You notice how everything about computers gives like interesting names like Scorpion HD 700 Black Titan X5. You know, they all say something like that, right?
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. I learned how the whole numbering works with PCs because before I was really confused. I was like, so you're telling me that a 760 Ti is, or let's say you're telling me that a 780 is better than a 960 or whatever. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. The number is higher. So I learned that usually the computer, the first number is usually, that's the 9 series or whatever. That means it's the newer model. So that goes up by 1. But usually the number followed by that. And the same way with Intel processors I've noticed is, so you have like the third generation start with a 3, the fourth generation start with a 4. With the one I bought, it's a little bit different because it's not a 5th generation processor, but it starts with a 5. But that's because it's in what they call their extreme lineup. Or
I mean, seriously,
like
they're just like screwing up they're even screwing up the numbering to the point where it's even confusing. It's like, here's a 5, but it's not Broadwell, it still has well. Yeah. And then you would have NVIDIA, which would have like 800 series chips that were rebranded 700 series chips, which were rebranded 600 series chips.
What I did learn is that while AMD is not keeping up with CPUs, they are keeping up with GPUs. And I actually, not for long, because after just looking around and doing my thing, I definitely think I'm with NVIDIA. I mean, processors, no debating. I would not recommend anything but Intel. GPUs are debatable. But I'm personally going to stay with NVIDIA. But AMD has some good options out there for the cost. I mean, you can get pretty close to a 780 for about half the cost with AMD. So their graphics options are really well, and then their APUs. But APUs, I mean, that's pretty much what the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One use. Surprisingly good performance for what it is, but if you want to do hardcore, like extreme gaming, that's not the route to go. More made for mobile with the laptops and such. They do make APUs for desktop, but once again, if you're looking to do like high-end gaming, it's not the way to go. So yeah, I'll be Intel for processor, NVIDIA for graphics card. Pretty freaking stoked. Now, when I was streaming the other night, there's this guy, and I am not falling for this one. I am done spending money. I am cutting myself off. Okay, this was supposed to be a This was supposed to be a $550 upgrade, and it's turned to over $2,000. Okay, so I am done. So I am on Twitch, and Bronson was there, and there was this PC enthusiast in there, and pretty much telling me that, hey, PC gaming TVs are garbage, and I'm like, really? And I kept reading about it. I was like, fucking shit, he's right. Like, these fucking gaming monitors they have nowadays, like 144 hertz and all this crazy stuff. Because here's the thing, TVs are a lot different, I learned. So, like, my Sony TV is a 240 hertz TV, and then Sony has whatever they call it's called like clear motion rate 960. I don't care about the clear motion rate, that's like software-based stuff. But it's a 240 hertz display. But I noticed when trying to play PC games, it recognizes as a 60 hertz display. Later to learn, that's how all TVs are, that it's pretty much just doing kind of like mind tricks, and it kind of simulates that, but it's really only taking a 60 hertz input. So I was checking out like these G-Sync monitors and these 140, like these 144 hertz. And then that's when I was like, okay, this is a little bit too much, because for now. I mean, this might change in the future. But with me, my thing is that, first of all, like I said, my desktop's pretty much being used as a console, literally meaning that this thing will be turned on to play games, and that is it. That's it. That's all this thing's going to be used for because I do all my computing needs on my MacBook, and my MacBook does everything I need to do really fast. So it'll be used for that. So I have it connected to my television via HDMI, and it works great. I lost my train of thought.
Monitors.
Yeah,
Chat.
Monitors. Thank you.
That video I sent you about the monitors.
Yeah, so this G-Sync, 144 hertz, all the stuff, and holy shit, 27-inch monitor for like $800. I'm like, say what? Because here's my thing. I sit like a good 10 feet away from my TV. I don't sit at a computer desk and play PC games. Like, I literally have a controller connected to my desktop. Like, literally, right now, I use an Xbox One controller and just wire it to my desktop. That's how I play my games. I don't like the idea of a keyboard and mouse. If it's a point-and-click game, absolutely. Otherwise, I'm not the one to play with keyboard and mouse. I know people say for first-person shooters, you have an advantage. I understand all that stuff. Me, personally, I have no interest in playing without a game controller. So like I said, when I say I'm using this thing as a console, I mean it literally in every single sense. The only difference is that it's a customizable console. So, but yeah. So I use a console. I mean, I use a controller. It's connected to my TV. And this guy was telling me about all this stuff like Hertz, G-Sync, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, wow, am I really missing out? So I researched it. I'm like, yeah, I kind of am missing out. And I was like, at the same time, they don't make these monitors that big, so I'm pretty much limited to 27 inches, which means that I would need to get a computer desk. I would need to set it up in a way that I'm closer to the screen.
I don't know. Like, this is where I would say you set your monitor up to your TV and just get a good computer chair. Like, that would be if you really wanted to go that route. But
I could do that, but here's the other thing. The fact that a 27-inch, or it might have been 28-inch, 28-inch monitor costs $800? I was like, what? Like, that's crazy. Like, just completely nuts.
Let me tell you, I'm loving every part of this entire conversation.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Like, with PC gaming, like, I kind of got into it, like, like I said, like a year or two before the PlayStation 3 and 360 ended. But now I've gotten so involved with this PC thing, and it's blown me freaking away. It's like I've like really discovered what, like, if you really want to fucking like play games and have them shits look fucking amazing, there is no other option but the fucking PC. Because after doing the research, it just absolutely blows me away. And like doing it myself, I'm running a 660 Ti, and I played Unity on a dated processor, and that game looks better on my PC. It's being bottlenecked by the processor, not the GPU, and it looks better still on the PC than it does on PlayStation 4.
Well, to be honest, I know this is going to be a little bit of a cruel way of putting it. The Xbox One and PS4 essentially have glorified laptop parts in it. I mean, I know that's a really unfair way of describing it, but
well, they're
these
APUs,
are kind of
it's true.
They're APUs, and they're not like the highest voltage type of APUs because these things need to be reasonably energy efficient and cost effective. So, to sell a $350, $400 game console, these things have glorified laptop processors. I mean, they're 8 cores, and you can't get them on a laptop normally. So fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just look at it this way. You spent $400, maybe $500 on one of these consoles, okay? I spent more than that just on my graphics card. Freaking $400, I almost spent $400 on freaking RAM for this damn machine.
This site, I like I said, I've been saying this for fucking years now, and I finally, I've been saying this for years now, and, finally people are seeing the light. So, granted, I compromise because I've been gaming on laptops because I wanted to save space and fucking wanted something that's mobile. But, this laptop for, as a mobile editing station and shit for when we're at E3 is going to be fine. So the next computer I build is going to be a desktop. Yeah. So.
Yeah, so that's how my adventure of I'll get a 980 has gone to, I'm completely rebuilding a whole entire computer.
So
now, the one thing I will say is that while I have spent a lot of money, according to what I've read, my research, and then speaking to Anthony and Bronson, I'm pretty future-proofed out. And the fact that I should not need to upgrade. Like I said, my next upgrade after this will be another 980. And once again, that's not a cheap upgrade. But
two 980s, like that is like you're not gonna need to upgrade for so fucking long at that point.
4K, you need to upgrade soon. Because a single 980 could probably barely do 4K, but it may not do it at max settings. Like 4K is a huge leap from 1080p. Colossal leap.
Well, right, and that's the other thing. It's like, why am I gonna spend like $800 on a monitor when I'll probably be spending a couple grand on a 4K TV soon? So like this whole like
fucking 4K monitor, yeah.
This freaking whole but I want some big, like freaking 55, 60 inches. Like this gaming hobby is just fucking expensive. Like, okay, I spent over $2 grand on the desktop. I'll be spending over $2 grand on. I mean, you're talking about $5 grand to get this set up. $5,000 to play freaking video games the way I want to play them. That's freaking insane.
This is where your point came in from all that time of like, you know, at the end of the day, that if you just want to play the games, you know, consoles are an option. But if you want them to fucking look as good as possible and have like the most control options and the best prices on fucking games, you're just gonna have to suck it up and build a computer.
Now what I will say is that the advantage consoles have that the PC will never have is the fact that, I mean, look at The Last of Us on PlayStation 3, okay? If you had a desktop that was equivalent to a PlayStation 3 and you tried to run a game and have it look as good as Last of Us, you would fail miserably. The reason why is that because the developers know the exact hardware in these consoles, because the hardware is customized and built together, these developers take advantage of the hardware. Versus PC, no one's going to specialize for this processor or this graphics card. They might make optimizations, but that's more on like NVIDIA's side. That's why they're always releasing new drivers and such. But no one's going to specialize. For example, my 5820, no developer or company is going to develop, I'm going to optimize for the 5820 because that 5820 may be 1% of everyone who buys the game. Whereas on a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, 100% of people who have a PlayStation 4, 100% of Xbox One have this hardware configuration. So because of that, if you took a desktop and it was equivalent to a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, it's not going to perform as well because the software is not optimized. And that's why when you look at what's available now and you look at what's available in 5 years, I'm sure when we see Grand Theft Auto 6 or whatever games are at the end of this console cycle, we're going to be blown away by what these consoles are doing because of the fact that they can take advantage of them, because of the fact they know what's in that console. Versus a PC, there's a billion different configurations out there, so they can optimize for it. That's a huge advantage with consoles. That's something that consoles will always have that PCs do not. It's another reason why, like with Apple, when you buy an Apple computer, there's not many different options you can go with as far as the hardware. Once again, that's so they can optimize the software. Look at the iPhones. Part of the reason why apps run better on the iPhone. I work with apps every single day. That's my paying job. And working on iOS is a billion times easier than Android. You know why? Because we can do something on Android and it might work on the LG G3, but it won't work on the Galaxy S5. Versus the iPhone, we know what every iPhone has. So, hey, if it works on a 4S, it's going to work on all 4S's. Whereas Android, there's so many different devices that it's never going to be perfect. So that's a huge advantage with console gaming. But at the same time, you're talking about, for this example, spending $2,500 versus $400 on a console. So of course you're going to get hardware that absolutely blows away the consoles. I mean, consoles. The thought of a console pushing 4K is laughable. It will never happen.
And I'm
well, it will
you,
happen.
like,
that'll be the PlayStation 5 and the next Xbox. But the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, they're struggling to push 1080p efficiently right now.
All right, I want you to go look at Metal Gear Ground Zeroes running on your PlayStation 4, and then run it at max settings, 1080p on the PC. That will pretty much say everything you fucking need to say about this whole goddamn, like, oh, it fucking looks better. Like, like, and here's the thing, like, PC graphics cards last a whole shit ton longer than people make you think. Nick, your 660 Ti is just now getting to the point of where it can't run a lot of games on max. Same thing with the thing in mine. Like, it's just now getting to that point 3 years later. So, I mean, yeah. Well, now the thing that I was going to ask you, what conclusion did you come to about monitors after watching that video on frame rates and things like that?
Oh, here's the thing. I'm honestly kind of scared to even try it, because if I try it, then I'm not going to want to game on my television. And then that's going to be an issue because, like I said, I like to sit back 10 feet away from my TV. I don't want to set up right in front of the monitor. Will there come a time for that? Possibly, but not now. So I'm sticking to TV for now. Just because of the fact that that's what I'm used to. I'm going to be completely fine running these games at 60 hertz and running max settings and eventually 4K. I'll be happy with that. And with 4K, you can't even do anything better than 60 hertz anyway. So if I'm going to be doing 4K, 60 hertz is the limit anyway. So buying a 4 hertz television compared to a 4K television and 4K monitor, yeah, the monitor may have a better response rate, but as far as the hertz go, they're going to be the same. They're both going to be 60. So for now, I'm sticking to a television. Now, if they end up coming out with crazy like gaming monitors that are like 50 inches, possibly I might look into it.
That is when the true darkness here happens. That is when Nick is like, that's when we get like the text message from Nick is just like, which of these two $2,000 monitors should I buy, guys? That's when that text message happens. No, like I've never been fortunate enough to be able to spend $2,500 on a PC. Like I said, my budget when I build a computer is $1,000 to $1,500. My next one, I'm definitely gonna go $1,500 just because the only thing that I'm not gonna be replacing is probably a DVD drive. So yeah, but.
On the plus side, I have a bunch of computer components to sell. I mean, I had pretty much, part of me is like, should I just buy a new case and just sell my freaking computer? But I was like, no. I was like, the chance of finding, I was just like, I'll just try selling everything individual.
I was about to say, like, so because at the end of 2016, I'll probably be building a computer. When Anthony has a job, he's probably going to be throwing a new graphics card in his fucking machine. We're building John a computer sometime in the next month. This whole site is just having a fucking mass exodus to PC gaming.
Oh no!
Because here's the thing. Like honestly, like I am beyond excited to get this set up. Just because the fact that I've seen what my 660 Ti can freaking do. Okay, and then I've looked at benchmarks. And the 980 makes the 660 Ti look absolutely disgusting. Like, just downright disgusting. So, what am I going to see when I put this bitch together? This freaking 5820 and this 980 and fucking running DDR4 RAM and running on SSD and all this craziness that's going to be happening. Freaking, oh yeah, I never even talked about I did talk about my power supply. So, yeah, fucking 1300 watts running through the bitch. Like, freaking, that's crazy. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, your electric bill? Honestly, no. Like, I looked, like, their average difference, because, like, keep in mind, my desktop isn't going to be used like a desktop where it's constantly on. This thing's going to be used as a console, so it might be used for an hour or two a day, maybe a couple hours, you know? So as far as cost goes, it might cost me maybe $5 more a month from what I was looking at. So I'm like, I'm not going to worry about that. It's $5 a month. You know?
I'm in a different situation where my next computer, the desktop, is going to be on pretty much all the fucking time. Because I'm one of those people that I just like fucking run my computer into the ground when it comes to use.
Reliability, stress testing. Go.
That's definitely how I am with my MacBook for sure. This MacBook has gone through hell and back, and it's still living. But my desktop's gonna be like the spoiled kid, you know? It's just gonna be sitting there doing nothing all day with its expensive hardware and only get used an hour or two a day. Like
this actually sounds like a very very expensive sports car. It's amazing. It's fast, but it only gets used like once every 2 weeks.
Yeah, so like
that's what it's sort of like.
Literally, my PC, it's pretty much Nick's console. That's what it is. Like, it's not. I have my PlayStation, my Xbox One, and then I have my custom console. That's pretty much all it is. So yeah. Thankfully, I don't have an OEM version of Windows. It's non-OEM, so I wanted to buy another version of Windows. At least I hope so. So I'm gonna be super mad. Like, I'm super ready to build this thing because I am so excited to just play through some of these games and just then absolutely tear the console apart.
I have you on Steam. I'm gonna pull. Anthony is playing Euro Truck Simulator right now, by the way, as I pull up Steam.
Hey, I'm driving while talking to you guys. It's totally safe. I guarantee you, I did not just crash into a bus towing 24 tons of digger equipment.
Yeah, so the latest games I have on PC right now is I have Evolve. Which I ran Evolve on my 660 Ti and actually was quite impressed. It looks quite good. I'm running it on some settings medium, some settings high, and I'm running 1080p and it runs really smooth. I have Unity, which doesn't run the best because my CPU is bottlenecking the entire thing.
I really wish you could get 2 more codes for Evolve because holy shit, playing that game, me, you, and Anthony would be the bomb. And John, once we have his new rig built, oh my god.
Yeah. And then I got Dying Light, which Dying Light I'm not even going to play yet. Dying Light I'm waiting until this console is built because I heard Dying Light is absolutely gorgeous with the right hardware. So, yeah, I'm super stoked.
I just totally realized when we do our Halloween special, if Aaron and Joe can't make it, you can join us this year.
Oh, yeah.
Because we play Left 4 Dead 2.
You guys, yeah, my 660 Ti can run Left 4 Dead 2 perfectly fine.
Yeah, no, like that was actually what
now I'll be running at like 600. I'll be running at like 600 frames per second now.
The whole thing is filmed from my perspective, and I run like a 550 Ti. And Left 4 Dead 2 is an old game. It's like maxed out 1080p, no problem.
Yeah, no,
nearly 60 frames at all times. It's freaking amazing when you just. When I built my computer, this is only 550 Ti, I've spent most of my time with game consoles and kind of junky computer hardware, and so when I built my own custom PC, which isn't even that high-end, I just like, whoa!
Yeah, when you first see that jump and this is going
from 360 PS3, which are like 2005, 2006 game consoles, to a 2011 lower mid-range graphics card. It was like, whoa!
Like, you know... Like, I had that with my laptop. Like, I had my laptop before this was when I bought it was a mid-range gaming laptop, but then it slowly aged into just being pretty much a basic machine. And I got this current machine, and I'm fucking running every game I own on max settings. I'm fucking just like, oh yeah, BioShock Infinite, 60 frames, no fucking problems. You know, we did our Halloween special shortly after, just boom, 60 frames, no issues. Yeah, so and like
reason why I wanted, sorry to cut you off, but another reason I really wanted to beef up on the CPU is because obviously we've been doing a lot of streaming lately, and because of the fact that pretty much at this point going forward, all multi-platform, unless for some reason the PC gets a very, very bad port, I will be going all games on multi-platform. which is a radical change for me because up to this point, I've been getting them all of them on PlayStation 4. But at this point, of course, like The Order, I'm definitely going to pick that up for PlayStation 4. Absolutely. Uncharted, absolutely. But everything else, Batman, forget Batman. Can you imagine what Batman's going to look like on my machine? It's going to be so freaking amazing. Oh my God. It's going to be so crazy. Metal Gear I'll be playing on my PC. You know, so... but yeah, so I want to be able. I'll be doing streams on my PC soon. Now, obviously, Twitch compresses it, but even then, I'm sure you guys will at least get an idea of how much better they look.
I mean, we streamed on my PC. Now, the G4, the software does it did cause me a little bit of a frame rate drop, but for your machine, it probably fucking won't at all.
Yeah.
And even then, like, one thing I did notice, because it's beta software, you're definitely going to want to use a controller no matter what game you're playing, because, like, I noticed some of my key bindings during Heroes of the Storm, like, I had to press the button multiple times.
Oh, yeah. I will always be using a controller, because that's the thing. Like, the only game I would not play with controller would be point and click, and that's the other thing. So, like I said, even my current setup, I don't have this setup to use a keyboard and mouse because I have my keyboard sitting on top of my desktop, and then my mouse is on my TV stand. So
this is what you do: you get a wireless mouse and keyboard. Put the key. Like, I've seen the way you sit because I watch you stream on Twitch. You have enough room on your armrest there for a mouse, and then you can set the keyboard in your lap. Problem solved.
I could do that, yeah.
Yeah. I think for certain games,
I just honestly prefer that. Like, obviously, point and click, I would use keyboard and mouse, but controller
for like any competitive shooter, like if we play TF2 ever, like that would be one, I think. But
yeah, so that is my story of how I went from, oh yeah, I'm buying all multi-platform PlayStation 4 to, let me look into this PC gaming thing. Oh, I'm gonna upgrade. Let me get a $500 graphics card. Here I am over $2,000 later, and all I can do right now is just wait for all my parts to arrive and build this hell of a beast that it's gonna become.
This has been a fantastic experience to hear about. I'm fucking getting text messages at work. Just like
oh yeah, I sent a text message. I was like, guys, look what I just ordered. So pretty much, what I showed them is I ordered the motherboard, I ordered the processor, I ordered the PCU, and then the power supply, and I just ordered some Arctic Silver, which is what you put on the CPU for cooling.
Yeah, the thermal paste.
Yeah, the thermal paste. And Bronson's like, well, tell him what you said.
1,300 watts? What are you building? A fucking space station? And then you respond with, like, your parts list, like, the full list. I'm like, okay, so you are building a space station.
Yeah. Pretty nuts. So, yeah, this baby, let's say by next podcast, hopefully I'll have this thing built. And
maybe you'll be doing the podcast on it. There we go.
No, I'll still be using my MacBook for it, just because my MacBook I can carry around.
The 550 watt TeamSpeak machine, really?
Yeah.
Come on now. But there's one thing I do want to say is that this whole experience with the build kind of highlights one particular problem I see with like introducing new people to PC gaming is, you know, multiple times throughout the build I noticed, hey Nick, this thing is not going to work with this thing. Yeah, you're going to need to replace this thing. Yeah, we need to make sure your case can actually support 2 or 3-way SLI should the day come. Hey, Nick, we found out your cooler's too old. Hey, Nick, we got to make sure that this cooler can actually clear the RAM. It's like, there's so many little things you actually have to account for. It's not just... I mean, yeah, you can buy a pre-built gaming PC, but then all you're gonna get from everybody is, oh, you could have built your own for so much cheaper. And this is one of the problems of building your own, is that you have to take the responsibility of checking to make sure all the parts that you bought are compatible with each other.
Yeah, so you guys know the specs of this machine. So you guys know the specs that are going to be involved with this machine. Okay, what do you think it would run if I bought it from, let's say, Alienware, Origin PC? What do you guys think it would run?
$3,500 to $4,000.
Yeah,
3.5 to 4. So pretty much they're charging you about a 30%, 40% interest on building it for you.
The
And
thing
that's
is that
the knowledge too. But so for example, if you got $2,000 to spend, if you build it yourself, you can get yourself equivalent of like a $3,000 computer. But if you have $2,000 to spend, but you're paying someone else to do it, you might only get a desktop that's maybe $1,400 worth.
You could spend like $1,000 or $1,200 on Alienware PC, and the best you're probably going to get is maybe an i5. So that's one of the things.
I recently browsed Origin PCs because the fine folks over at Kinda Funny, got a sponsorship with them, and all their equipment is now Origin. And they look like really good computers. I'm like, okay, I'll price check these, and I'm like,
their cases are sick.
Dude, they're fucking. I would buy the shit out of one of those cases if I could get one.
Have you seen what happens when they ship them to you? What they ship them in?
They're in a fucking crate. Yeah.
Yeah, they send it in a freaking wood crate.
If that showed up on my door, my mom would ask, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, it looks like military equipment.
Care package arrived.
Bronson, is there something you haven't told me?
Yeah, I'm working with the U.S. Army. But anyway, I price checked it. I'm just like, okay, the build I'm looking at right now is a 970, an i7, an SSD boot drive with a regular terabyte drive. That's about what I'm looking at right now.
Well, that is the thing, though. If you're not building this thing until end of 2016, though, you're probably going to be looking at something completely different, though.
Yeah,
because stuff's going to go down in price. I mean, probably end of 2016, you'll probably go get like a terabyte SSD for probably like $150, $200 end of next year. You'll probably be able to get probably some equivalent to a 980 for probably like $300.
Yeah,
maybe even cheaper.
But like I said, for that's what it would be now. Like I just kind of I occasionally run this through in my head, and I'm just like, yeah, well. I was like, well, okay, I have a general idea of what I could get for my price build, and I looked, okay, what would it be if I was doing this through Origin? And I was just like, nope, because it was a $1,500 computer, would cost me it was basically $1,000 markup. What it was,
And I mean, if you don't have the knowledge to build a gaming PC and aren't comfortable, that's why those companies are in business, because they do have the knowledge and they build them. And
it's not only the knowledge, but you're also paying for the fact that they actually did some engineering work. Like, for example, noise. Noise is a very important one. For example, my PC built it for $800 initially. Felt that I did a pretty good job being reasonable, and it's a good value build, and plays games at 1600 by 900 at the time. But the fans, I did not give it a custom cooler. It only has a single case fan, and it's loud when I game hard on it. It's loud, and whenever I render videos, man, that stock Intel heatsink, man, it revs up. That fan revs up really loud. So you get like a quieter system that's actually engineered. You got people who build lots of those things, and you get a warranty because when you build your own PC, that's one of the things is that if, say, for example, Bronson's Alienware, like way back when his M11X broke, they sent a guy to his house, fixed it on the spot, and bam, it's up and running. Whereas if, say, your PC breaks, it's up to you, the owner, to figure out what's wrong with it yourself. And if it's like something with the motherboard or CPU, well, you're going to have to contact that specific manufacturer. Like, for example, if my Asus motherboard broke, I have to contact Asus themselves and say, my motherboard broke, and then I have to go through their separate return process. Whereas, somebody like Alienware just sends a person over to do it for you, and ding, there you go. You're ready to go.
But yeah, I work for someone who builds PCs in Moondog, and our policy is like, oh yeah, there's any problem, bring it in a store, we'll fix it. If it's fucking something with the parts, we'll take the hit on cost. And that's the advantage of that. And for laptops, I actually would go for a gaming laptop if that's what I needed, because I find that gaming laptops are actually getting surprisingly more affordable as time goes on, and you're not going to get the same performance as a desktop. Like the $1,500 I spent on my laptop. Like the desktop equivalent would have been fucking amazing.
Well, yeah, I think I looked at this a long time ago, and I found obviously it could change, but taking, let's say, getting a laptop with the same specs of a desktop, you're probably going to pay almost twice as much. Because now you got to keep in mind, it's not just the fact that it's mobile, but you also get a display. So keep that in mind. You're getting the keyboard, you have the display, but there's a cost in the display, whereas when you buy a desktop, there's no display whatsoever. But yeah, even then, to game on a laptop, you're going to be paying about double what you would to get the same.
I wouldn't say double because
you'll be surprised how close modern.
This was like 4 years ago, so it could have changed.
Oh yeah, like nowadays, like laptop i7s are actually keeping up with like desktop parts reasonably well. The gap is getting smaller, and now that Maxwell graphics chips have better power efficiency than ever before, the gap between the desktop 80 series and the laptop 80 series is getting smaller too. So it's, the gap between the desktop and the laptop isn't as big as it used to be. I mean, it's still there, but
yeah,
it's not as bad.
Like I mean, my laptop, if I could get like a newer GPU in it, yeah, like I would just say fuck it, I'll do that route because my CPU and my RAM are more than adequate. So yeah, like that's. Oh man, Funnily enough, is we're building John a computer soon here, and it's a budget build, and we're gonna do a video on building said PC. So, you'll get to see the process of that happening.
Yeah, it's like Nick is like the freaking super expensive kind.
Yeah, I know how to build a PC. Here's the thing. The physical work of building a PC is not hard. It's very, very simple to put it together. But it's getting the right parts and getting the right configuration because there's so many things you have to account for. Like, I had a decent knowledge.
Oh, man.
But Anthony had to correct me on so many things that I wouldn't have caught. And I would have gotten mighty pissed when it got time for me to build it and to figure out that I need to get 2 or 3 more components. I'd been mighty pissed.
Yeah. And
here I am, like I said, I was just trying to make a graphics card update and literally I'm pretty much building it from scratch. The only thing I am reusing is the case. That is it.
Yeah, like this is the problem that I had with PC building. Like, it's easier than ever. True, once you have all the compatible parts, it's literally like bolting in some screws and it's Legos. It's great. It's wonderful. Easy, simple. With the exception of maybe the RAM, which gave me a heart attack when I built mine. And gave Bronson a heart attack when I replaced his keyboard. But it's like, when I built my PC, it is, okay, so I want an Intel Core i5 mid-range. There's like 5 models or something like that. Okay, so I got it. Now I need to figure out what chipset. There was a Z67, there was like a Z77 or something like that. No, Z67, P67, and H67, H61. What's the difference between them? And what do I need? It was kind of overwhelming. I mean, there's a lot of choice. That's awesome. But, like, for someone who was building a new system from scratch, it was like, oh my goodness. Like, there's a lot of research you have to do. Like, once you figure it out, it's great. But you kind of have to, like, double, triple, quadruple check it to make sure everything works.
One thing that I want to talk about with that is, like, the thing is, though, typically if you are going to get into PC gaming, especially to the point of where you're building a PC for gaming, you are enough of an enthusiast to where the research really doesn't suck that bad. In most cases.
It's not that broad. Like I said, I did a ton of research. It's just the very, very little things. Like I said, the CPU cooler. It has a universal mounting bracket. Sweet, it's a universal mounting bracket. Works with Intel boards. I'm good to go.
Universal mounting bracket for older processors that were then outdated.
Right, but then Anthony comes back to me and says, no, that's for a different... That won't fit the entire processor. So it's those little things that really that get you. It's those small little things like the CPU cooler, do you have enough in your power supply, like the RAM.
And that's the other thing about the power supply
too. Does DDR3 RAM work with DDR4? Like stuff like that.
Here's the other thing too. Power supplies, like the cheaper power supplies, they like to over bloat their ratings. So just because,
that's why I got a good. I think mine's a core. I think I got a Corsair, and it's 1300 watts. So even if that
I think it's an EVGA.
Oh, it's EVGA.
It's a supernova.
Yes.
Like for example, I have
supernova. So even if that 1300 is overrated, well, at least I'm still getting over 1,000.
Yeah.
So
like I have a 430 watt power supply, and back when I bought it, which was like freaking in 2008 or something, 430 watts. Oh man, that's the power supply you needed. Then I found out that it had no amps on the 12 volt line, on the 12 volt rail. So there were no amps, which means I couldn't really put a graphics card in, and this thing couldn't solve my system hanging problems back when I did run a small graphics card. So when I built my new PC, 500 watts. Yeah, it's not that much from 430, but it had way more amps on the 12 volt line, and to this day, it still powers my computer like a champ. So there's that to worry about. There's a lot to worry about.
Yeah, I looked at there's this good website. It's CPU Boss, and I think it's GPU Boss as well. You just type it. It's good for comparing CPUs, GPUs, and it like compares like all the benchmarks and stuff. I was like, let me compare what I just bought compared to Anthony, and the benchmarks are just completely out of this world. Like straight, like at least 2 times benchmark on everything. It's ridiculous. The only thing that's different is on single core performance. I think they're pretty much equal. Because it's 6 cores, but it's at 3.3 gigahertz. So the gigahertz aren't as high as they could be, but there's 6 cores in there. And with gigahertz, it's hard to go off that because like you could look at an AMD freaking 4.5 gigahertz from 2 or 3 years ago, and then an Intel that's 3 gigahertz, and the Intel will completely blow it out of the water. So you can't just go off the gigahertz. It's all... It takes some research for sure. But yeah, I'm super excited. I cannot wait. I mean, I'm just going to be freaking running everything like especially 1080p. 1080p, I will not have a single issue with any game. Even The Witcher 3, I checked. The Witcher 3, I'll be running 1080p max.
Man, like my computer, I look at my PC, and aside from the crappy case and all the weird things about that case, it's literally a power supply and graphics card away from being pretty much maxed out. If I put a 980 in it, it will run The Witcher 3 no problem whatsoever. But I'm not going to put a 980 in it because I am sure as hell not spending $550 on a graphics card at this point. Hell no. Maybe a 970 once they clear up that memory claim.
Yeah,
mess.
when they come, they'll probably... Or like you said, the 960 Ti when they come out. That I think AMD is going to have to do something because the problem is that, like I said, AMD has, I think it's their 290. I might be wrong, but they have a graphics card that has the performance of close to a 980, and it's like $300. It's pretty nuts considering the 980 is almost double that price.
I wouldn't say they're. 980, I would say more like a standard 290 might outperform a 9 or almost match a 970 for less money. But you pay more for the NVIDIA because it uses less power, it's less noisy, and you get better drivers. Which to some people is worth the cost, and to me that is worth the cost.
That's part of the reason why I went with NVIDIA. So for example, like Evolve came out and they had a driver available the day Evolve came out, optimized for Evolve. So, like with AMD, from my research, they just don't seem to be as active in that. And then NVIDIA has a lot of cool technologies. I know one that I'm personally looking forward to testing out. It's called DSR, some super resolution, something like that. And essentially what it is, once again, it could just be marketing BS, but it's something I want to test out for myself. So essentially... it's a technology NVIDIA brought with Maxwell where, say you have a 1080p TV, and let's say you have a 980. At a 980, you're running games well over 60 frames per second at 1080p, but your bottleneck is now your display because you have this super powerful graphic card that can push higher resolutions, but you don't have a high resolution display. Most people don't have anything over 1080p. So what this technology does is they say it brings 4K to the 1080p display. So essentially what it does is it can render up to, let's say it can render 4K, and then it downsamples it to match your television. Now you may be like, okay, what's the point of this? Because essentially you're going back to 1080p. That's something that, like I said, I have to test myself, and once I know, I will let you guys know.
The analogy is like watching a 4K video on a 1080p display on YouTube. You somehow notice more sharpness, even though you're still looking at a 1080p display. It just happens to be playing 4K video. I say that would be the analogy.
Yeah, because I know when I watch YouTube videos and see them in 4K, they do look better in 4K than 1080. For sure. I don't know why that is, but they do look better.
It's like downsizing sharpness, because you could probably notice more jaggedness or something like that.
Well, yeah, that's what they showed an example. I think it was Dragon Age, I think, and they showed the grass, and you could see like this, like I forgot the technical term for it, but you could see like this white like pixelation going around the grass as you panned around. With DSR activated, you don't see that. So once again, that's something for super high-end cards, because like I said, the only time you should be running that is when you can run 1080p and running super high frames. Because obviously, if you're rendering at 4K, it's going to take up a lot more of your hardware. So,
that's the other thing. Like, your 980 is going to have 4 gigabytes of video memory. That may or may not be enough to hold all those 4K needed textures. That was another concern too. That's kind of why that's something people debate all the time about whether 4 gigabytes of whether the 980 is 4K capable or not. You just look, one of the arguing points is the memory. Is 4 gigabytes enough for all the texture, all the high resolution textures you need to make 4K look good? So
that's why, like I said,
so here we go. PC gaming, that's complicated.
Yeah, eventually.
Because now there's the question of, because 4K is not going to happen for another 3 or 4 or 5 years for game consoles at the earliest. For PC, it's almost happening. That's going to require
new consoles, for sure.
For PC, people are already talking about it, because you're talking about the same type of enthusiast kind of thing that frickin' you can put 2 6-core processors on a motherboard if you were really crazy with your money. And we're talking about a community that buys GTX Titans, GeForce Titans, that cost $1,000 each. Like the PC game.
I saw a YouTube video. Someone was running a 3 SLI with Titan Z's, and I was just
granted, that is like a minority of the PC gaming crowd, because most PC gamers they kind of have computers sort of like mine or like Bronson's at best. And believe it or not, a lot of people who play like Warcraft and League and Dota, that stuff runs on crappy computers too. So, yeah, just want to point that out.
Yeah, let's keep in mind 3 Titan Z's. That's $4,500 for graphics. $4,500 just for graphics cards.
Yeah.
But I've seen some YouTube videos, because YouTube supports 4K, and they also support 60 frames per second now. And I've seen like freaking something, like I saw someone was playing, I think he had 3 980s, but he was playing Far Cry 4 in 4K. Oh my god, wow. It's compressed when it goes to YouTube, but I was watching, I was just like, it looks like a totally different beast.
Can you imagine Final Fantasy cutscenes in 4K?
Like
it's going to be like one gigantic visual spectacle is what it is.
So, where are we?
We were talking about
so I was talking about Bronson. Have you heard of this new technology from NVIDIA, the DSR for the new Maxwell, the dynamic super resolution?
No, but go ahead.
Well, we already talked about it, but basically it's this technology NVIDIA has, and I'm excited to test out with my 980. So I might need to have 2 980s to really take advantage of it. But essentially, it's the ability to take, say, for a lot of people, it gets to the point when you have like a 980 where your bottleneck is outside of your machine. It's your actual display. Like, your display can't go any higher than 1080p. Well, NVIDIA has built this technology where pretty much it renders the game at 4K and then downsamples it onto your television, and it supposedly makes it look a lot better or whatever. So that's something like I said, it could just be marketing stuff from NVIDIA, but I'll be looking forward to testing it out myself. But yeah, so that's our PC spiel. Like I said, I hope No promises, but I hope to have my desktop built by next podcast. If not, definitely the podcast afterwards. And I will let you guys know about all this craziness that is about to take place.
This is an amazing story.
It's
what went from a curiosity to a graphics upgrade to a completely rebuilt system that almost ended up with a new computer monitor.
This started.
Oh my goodness!
This started with the Google search. That's all I want to say. This started with the Google search.
What is this gonna be a habit I'm gonna like hear in life now?
Here's what I'm worried about now, and I am seriously worried about this. Okay, so I buy a PlayStation 4, so I bought my PlayStation 4. $400. I buy a game every now and then. Okay, the cost is reasonable. My problem that I can see it now is I'm geeking out on this PC technology right now, and I'm scared that I will become one of those crazy people that a year from now, even though my machine, let's say, look at my current machine, it's gonna be a beast, but a year from now, I'm like, holy shit, NVIDIA has this new card, and it freaking runs this game this much better. I've gotta have it.
Here's the thing, Nick. I think as long as you're getting 60 frames at 1080p and then eventually 4K, you're probably not going to care that much.
Yeah, that's true, because like I said, anything over 60 frames per second with my TV isn't going to make a difference.
I have the same concern, because it's like once you maxed out, you want to stay there. You want to be top of the line.
Well, that's going to be my problem, is I don't think I'll be able to accept anything that's not top of the line. Like, I can just see it now, like freaking,
for me, I have good
whatever game freaking comes out, and I'm running the game at 45 frames per second instead of 60, I'm like, okay, time to buy this new graphics card, or time to upgrade the CPU, just because I'm used to running it in 60 frames per second and not having any issues. Oh, I'm seriously scared, guys. I might have just signed my life away right now by doing this, because there is no going back. There's no, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. The parts are ordered. The parts are arriving. And once this thing is built,
you can always think, your games are looking far better than anything on a PS4 or Xbox One ever will. That's one way you can look at it. For the most part.
Yeah, you turn into our friend Alex and just do that shit in dual monitors and talk shit to everyone who plays on consoles.
Let's dual monitor. Let's have two TVs. One's playing your game and one watches a movie. Let's do that.
That's what fucking Alex does. He has two 770s and he's running fucking his games on Max.
770s. This is Nick's like dual 980s setup that he's thinking of down the line.
So Nick will be able to do it even better. So there you go. Fucking hell yeah. Let's
I don't think you're gonna go down this line, because your game's gonna look so much better than anything on the PS4, Xbox One currently, that you don't need to think about upgrading like that.
Yeah, like that's
like for a person like me.
But my concern is gonna be like, how can I make this game look even better?
Okay, see, now that is gonna be a concern. Yes, for sure. But still, like, your games are like better already. That's like the person who sits and just looks at, his motorbike or something, and just thinks, man, if I could just get that extra 2 miles an hour on my top speed.
Well, yeah, it's like the Olympians. It's like the Olympians.
It's like the Olympics. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you look at like these sprint runners. Like, these guys are all like unhumanly fast. Okay, but because this guy beat this guy by like a 100th of a second, like, that's the thing. Like, they're like, okay, I need to get my speed 100th of a second faster, and that's what I think my concern is gonna be with this PC stuff. Is that, okay, there's gonna be a PC game that comes out. I'm trying to think of what would be, but
Crysis 4.
Yeah, so let's
powered by Frostbite 5.
Yeah, so let's say Crysis 4 comes out. Okay,
I got Frostbite CryEngine 5, I should say.
Okay, and I've got, let's say, 2 980s in at this point. Okay, and running all these games like 4K smooth, everything. They come out on Crysis 4. 4K, I can only run it like 15-20 frames per second. So I have to run it to whatever is under 4K. What is that? Like
25 by 1600.
Yeah, so let's say I'm having to run by 25 1600. I'm gonna be like, shit, I want to fucking play 4K though. So now here I am. Oh shit, they aren't making the 980 anymore. So that means that I've got to buy first a new card from Nvidia and probably buy 2 of them because now I want to do SLI. Now here's what I will say is that honestly for 4K is definitely kind of in the future right now. I do think that 3-4 years from now we will have cards that just single cards that can run 4K by itself. We will get to that point.
But 5K will be next.
Oh god.
Like, game consoles may not do it, but the PC, you can always turn up the resolution to 5K.
And this is exactly why I think this might have been a bad idea in a way. Because
I'm already working on. I already have an idea.
You're making me want to buy my graphics card early, Nick.
I'm telling you. So one thing I will say, Nick, is this whole conversation is like I'm in the process of writing a comic. So thank you.
Oh, I told you this is the perfect comic. Like I'm running 4K and 60 frames per second. Doesn't get better than this. Oh, wait a second. 5K. Oh,
just
shit.
have me like blurring over the speakerphone.
Oh, see, this was
We've
awful.
got our comic now.
This is gonna be so bad.
Part of me has faith in your ability to restrain yourself.
Here's what I'll say. The Gamer Access, we are stepping our PC coverage because we need these companies to freaking support us because I am not going to be able to afford this shit. They need to start sending us stuff for review. That's what needs to happen.
Well, I mean, we're currently, like I can't say anything about who or what, but as you know, we're working with that one company on that thing. So, I don't know, maybe that will turn into something. I know I've talked with them about financing, and I'm just like, go away, Satan.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, I financed my first computer as a relatively good experience. I managed to make it through the year without paying interest. I made it literally on the last month. I was like, oh, fucking thank God. Because my original plan is before I stopped working for AT&T, I was like, fuck, I'll have this thing paid off in 2 months. No biggie. And then it's like, nope. So,
yeah, that's the thing. I knew how much I was getting for my tax return, and I was like, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. So I just bought it all just straight out. So it was expensive.
My tax return is going to like 50 billion different things. It's like, okay, lost a ton of weight, so I need to buy a new suit.
Hey, I found you a cheap router.
You found me a cheap router. There's like all this like small stuff that I just want to pick up or need to pick up, and then like after all that crap is taken care of, I'm like, oh, I have like $240 left. Man, that new DS is out. So I have decided if I can find one for retail cost, as in they have one at the midnight launch.
Bronson, why don't you upgrade? Why don't you get the 960 then? 240 can get you a 960.
He doesn't have a desktop.
Yeah, like
you don't have a desktop at all?
See, I have a desktop, and I'm thinking of a 960.
Yeah, it's old as shit. That's why. Like that.
He's got a good laptop though. I like it. With the exception of the light-up trackpad, which I to this day still think it's a really dumb feature.
So great.
It's like a light-up keyboard makes sense because there's 101 keys on it and more. A light-up trackpad, the hell.
All right, so we went on for about PC. Oh my god, we went on about PC games for like an hour and a half. Holy shit!
And we actually have a question about PC games on the comments when we get to those.
Yeah. So wow. So we are bringing
the raid will start up one day, guys. We apologize.
Yes, and the raid will no longer be. It used to be like a World of Warcraft podcast. Now it's just going to be PC gaming.
Well,
so,
I mean,
it's not just PC gaming. I would expand that to like really, really geeky stuff and nerdy stuff that is, has its own entire, completely different set of jargon.
So that podcast started out as like World of Warcraft. Then it moved to MMORPGs. And then it moved to MOBAs. Then it moved to RTSs like, fuck it, let's just cover everything on the PC.
let's just cover stuff on the PC because everything we're saying on this podcast is only comprehensible to a certain type of person.
Yeah, so that'll be where we see, like, that's what we'll be talking about, like, the latest graphics cards, latest processors, all...
Yeah, and then we talk, like, really weird cryptic languages, like, you know, like my system, it has an i7 4770 hooked up to an H67 board, which had to have a BIOS update in order to support the Ivy Bridge line of processors. Also, being an H67 series, it can only support up to 60. See, how many people can actually understand what I just said right there?
You know, I'm mad. You want to know why I'm mad?
What?
I understood everything you just fucking said.
Well, you work with a PC company. That's the thing, though. That like you have a reason for it. Whereas, like Nick here, I'm surprised I'm surprised he's gonna be like, oh man, you're gonna be the PC enthusiast, and then you're gonna learn how to fix your own PC because you're a PC gamer.
I mean, like
that's funny. So when I texted Bronson and I were texting back and forth after I bought like those parts, and then John was just like, I don't understand any of this nonsense.
He will.
There you go.
Because, you know, we're building his...
It's like, here's the thing, is like when you PC game, you actually have to understand computer talk somewhat because that's how you're going to figure out system requirements to see if your PC can even run anything.
Because, I mean, like, you know, people said it all, like, we talked about it on the Gamecast, like, people think John, once he has a taste, he's going to go full PC. And I think that too, because... You save a shit ton of money on games. You have more control options. Games look better.
Your computer does more things better.
That's true.
I'm not joking. Like my desktop, my desktop doubles as my editing machine. That's a lot of work for it to do. Granted, I don't game on it that much, actually.
Yeah, but you will.
It's my Final Fantasy 14 Euro Truck Simulator editing machine.
it's embargoed, but we got a review copy of HTOL number NAIQ, the Firefly Diary, and this is the same week that Monster Hunter comes out, Majora's Mask. I just get a text back from John, just like they always send these at the worst. You always send me these at the worst fucking possible times. I'm like, quit complaining. Free video games. God, what was I? But Anthony, by the way, I know this is the Criminal Girls review. I re-uploaded to the server.
That's okay. So, that got resolved already.
Oh, it did?
Going up tomorrow, which would be yesterday by the time you guys hear this.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can see John getting into PC gaming, especially because
like it will take him a while to get like used to all the complicated stuff about the PC itself. But PC gaming. It's like playing a regular game, only you have a lot of buttons on your keyboard. So, or you can hook up a controller too. PS4 controller. I'm not joking. I hooked up my PS4 controller to a Windows XP system, and I was able to play games that I haven't played in years. It's so nice.
I did the same.
I was freaking playing NASCAR Racing 2002 season, and aside from the fact that the triggers were wonky and the game was too old to recognize them, I just used the right analog stick for my gas and brake. Oh man, I miss playing that game.
I did the same thing with my Xbox One controller, and I'm just like, oh, let's play, you know, Alan Wake, and it just worked perfectly.
Yeah. Freaking, I love that Sony actually took the effort to say, you know what, all you need to do is plug this into the PC, and you're good to go. Granted, you have a gazillion axes and like 15, 16 different buttons, but hey, it's a usable controller that you just plug and go. You just need to set all your key commands. Freaking, it's so nice because like I can play driving games on the PC again because like I'm playing Euro Truck right now, and it used to be I had to use a keyboard and mouse, which sort of worked, and way back when I was little I would have an actual steering wheel with pedals, but those things were bulky and they broke a lot, so, and they were kind of expensive really because they broke. Like I had a force feedback wheel that just wore out after a year, and that sucked.
I know one thing that I'm actually game that I'm gonna probably buy with John is Shogun's Total War, because I've actually been like studying about Japanese history and the Warring States period through that extra history series. You know, it's extra credits but for history, and they've been covering like the Warring States period in Japan. I'm like, this sounds really interesting. I would love to play a game about this. You know, and I was just like, fuck, I should. Yeah, let's. So it's $30 right now, but you know during a Steam sale that shit's gonna go down rapidly. I remember when that game came out. It's like second generation i5, 4 gigs of RAM, and a DirectX 11 card. I'm like, shit, this game fucking doesn't fuck around. And then now I look at that with my current machine. I'm like, ha, that's cute. Yeah. Yeah, I normally don't like RTS games, but something about Total War and StarCraft.
Oh boy. StarCraft I totally get because it just says Blizzard on it.
Well, that's not it. Like the stories are good, and they make it.
I know,
less
but
about
still, like you're a fan
micromanagement.
of like just about everything Blizzard makes: World of Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft, Hearthstone, and soon Overwatch.
I hope Overwatch ends up being good. The only reason it didn't make my most anticipated list is because I just don't think it's coming out this year. Like I don't think that's happening.
It's gonna be in beta this year. But it won't come out till 2016, probably.
That's why. I'm like,
Heroes
you know
of the
what?
Storm may or may not come out this year.
Heroes of the Storm just hit beta, so I think it has a shot.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, PC gaming. But here's the thing, too, is that we talk about this super high-end kind of build, but here's the thing, is that the most popular PC games in the world, League of Legends, Dota, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, they can run on toasters. I'm not joking. I got League to run on a computer that's going to be, at this point, 9-10 years old. And it does it just okay. And Hearthstone ran on my old broken laptop on medium settings, even though it didn't have a graphics card.
I'm going to tell you
that's part of the reason why those games are so popular. Because
anybody can play them if you have a
majority of people who play those games are college students, and the fact that pretty much every college student has a laptop. And pretty much, if you've bought any laptop within the past few years, you'll be able to play, even if you don't have a graphics card in there. Just because of how low the requirements are, and just because those games aren't graphically intense.
So I'm going to tell you the most popular PC games on Twitch right now, and I guarantee you almost all of them can run on moderate computers. League, it'll run on a toaster.
Yeah, I'll totally do it.
Counter-Strike Go, which is the newest Counter-Strike, which came out 2 years ago. I mean, I'm gonna check on that one because I know it's a Source Engine game, so it can't be that ridiculous. But yeah, okay. So you need a dual core. You need a video card with 200. This is minimum, by the way. You need a dual core processor, a DirectX 9C video card with Pixel Shader 3.0. So not ridiculous. Hearthstone runs on fucking iPad. So that says everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Dota 2 requires a moderate computer, but not anything crazy. Let's see. DayZ I think is pretty intense, but I'm gonna double check that one real quick. DayZ is surprisingly cheap. Okay, DayZ is actually kind of intense. It needs a 560 and an i5. Minecraft will run on a literal toaster. Binding of Isaac is an indie game, no problem there. StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm will run on a moderate computer. RuneScape will run on a toaster.
RuneScape? People still play RuneScape?
Isn't that a web browser thing? Oh wait, there's actually a RuneScape 2 now, which I don't know if that's a web browser. It is currently
in the top 18 on Twitch.
Oh my god.
Hey, when you MMOs, they've got a lot of staying power.
RuneScape's been around since I was in middle school.
I know. RuneScape was just like someone just came out.
School.
Yeah, when I was in middle school, someone just came and said, "Dude, you need to sign up for RuneScape." And I'm like, "What's this?" And all I knew was I eventually found myself mining for logs for like half an hour at a time, and I'm just like, "What am I even doing? Where am I supposed to go? I'm gonna stop. This game looks like it's something on an N64 that runs on a web browser," and it did run on a web browser at the time.
Warlords of Draenor requires a better computer than you've typically needed for Warcraft, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, they bump it up every expansion. Like when Cataclysm came out in 2010, you could run that thing on a NVIDIA FX graphics card, which was like from 2004.
Yeah, trying to think. Like I don't have. I love looking at the original World of Warcraft system specs because it's funny.
Oh, yeah. Well, it came out in 2004.
What is it like? Was it require
GeForce
like
2?
256 megabytes of RAM?
Hold on.
Yeah.
All right, we'll pull this up. Hold on.
I always say that. Look how much RAM. It still amazes me how much RAM was on the PS3 and 360, and to see the games that came out. Like what? Like how was The Last of Us possible?
Well, that's like one of the things that bewilders me, and one of the reasons why I'm so impressed by The Last of Us is that from a technical viewpoint, they took like systems that had less memory than my 2004 computer or 2005, 2006 computer and made something that runs in 720p fluently. They made Grand Theft Auto 5 and The Last of Us on it, which boggles. Granted, they're not running an operating system that thick, so that helps, but still. It's like you guys made this kind of game without like severe loading times.
Could you imagine what would happen if Naughty Dog made PC games?
Well, I think there's this.
Fair enough. You don't have the advantage of optimizing and getting every single little thing you can out of the console. But I mean, just to give you an example, like look at the Order 1886. That game looks freaking unbelievable, and they came out.
So cinematic.
I think they came out yesterday and said that it's definitely not using all the PlayStation 4 hardware. So it's like
just imagine 2 or 3 years from now what we're gonna see.
Well, it's just like Uncharted. Look at Uncharted 1 and then look at Uncharted 3. So look at the difference.
I found the original World of Warcraft's minimum system specs. It doesn't have
this
recommended.
Should be fun.
It could probably run on like a modern day calculator.
Tell me the magical pentium it takes to run it.
I'd be willing to bet it probably would run on a modern day calculator.
The original World of Warcraft on minimum. Alright, the original World of Warcraft on minimum. Windows 98 ME 2000 or XP.
It ran on Windows 98.
Yep.
In 2004.
Yep.
Holy crap! Microsoft stopped supporting the operating system in 2001.
An 800 megahertz or higher CPU.
800 megahertz.
That's about a Pentium 3. Yeah.
A 32 megabyte 3D graphics card with hardware transformation and lighting.
So that's
such
an
as
NVIDIA.
GeForce 2 or better.
Oh, so not an NVIDIA TNT 2 then. Okay.
4 gigabytes of hard drive space. 256.
Oh wait, 4 gigabytes back then was actually a decent chunk.
Yeah, because back then back then you had 80, 60 gigabyte hard drives, and oh shit.
Yeah.
Crap, I just
so
crashed.
I had 120 gig, and I was like, yeah, I'm never gonna need more storage than this.
Yeah,
now we have games taking up half that.
World of Warcraft, it eats up 30 gigs on my hard drive right now.
Can you imagine when we get to the point when games take up like freaking like 300 gigabytes?
Okay. Yeah, well, that will be the new 300 megabytes then at that point.
Yeah, then we'll have. Could you imagine rocking like a 250 terabyte hard drive?
Oh my goodness! I'm not gonna tell you. In 1998, like 1999 or whatever, SimCity 3000 was like a 330 megabyte game or something like that.
So
it's ridiculous.
We forgot the RAM. 256 megabytes or more of RAM.
I don't know.
Which is pretty much what the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 had.
Well, the 360 was 512 pool that could be split any way you wanted it to for the most part. For the PS3, it was 256 system, 256 video, separate. And now both game consoles have an 8 gigabyte pool in general.
So now current World of Warcraft's minimum, if you were like the current, update of the engine. Windows XP, Vista 7 or 8 on the latest service pack. An Intel Core Duo E6600 or AMD Phenom X38750. An NVIDIA GeForce 8800 GT or an ATI Radeon HD 4850 or an Intel HD 3000.
Oh, so you can play Warcraft from your basic normal laptop. Sort of.
If you want to play it on minimum, sure. 35 gigabytes of available hard drive space. 2 gigs of RAM. The recommended version of this is 4 gigs of RAM, an i5 2400, a GeForce GTX 470. So,
which, to be honest, if you're gaming on a PC, like I said, obviously for laptops it's different. But if you have a gaming machine, you should definitely have more than 4. RAM is cheap as long as you're not going to DDR4. Like I've had to. Like if you had to go to DDR4, then I pray for you because I prayed for myself once I found out. I was seriously like, oh, I have to get new RAM. Okay, $100 at most. Ha, funny. You know how much I saw? There's 32. What was it? I think it was 32 gigabytes. Yeah, 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM is like $1,000. That's freaking insane.
Well, if you are, I guess if you're editing 4K video, I guess.
Oh, you have to be editing like 3 4K videos simultaneously to be doing crazy stuff like that. Editing 4K video, yeah, you need decent hardware, but you do not need 32 gigabytes of DDR4. You can edit 4K video on 16 gigabytes of DDR3. So,
one last fun one here for everyone. The Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos minimum system requirements. Now let's remember that game came out in 2001. This is funny.
Ooh, the age of when XP was just about to come out and PlayStation 2 had started its dominance.
Alright, so you needed a 400 megahertz Pentium 2 or better.
400 megahertz.
Oh man, my 98 computer wouldn't be able to run that.
A 128 megabytes of RAM.
Okay.
An 8 megabyte 3D video card with DirectX 8.1. 700 megabytes of hard drive space.
Ooh.
Now, the recommended is a 600 megahertz processor, 256 megabytes of RAM, and a 32 megabyte 3D video card with 8.1 compatible sound. And for multiplayer, you need low latency active internet connection at 28.8 kilobytes or faster.
Kilobits, probably.
Yeah, now let's remember that when this game came out, even like World of Warcraft, Warcraft 3, that could run on most computers as well. So even for back then, it didn't have.
Actually, it probably wouldn't, because at that time, in 3 years, you went from a Pentium 2 to a Pentium 4. Like, at that point, I had a computer that's only 3 years... there was a computer in my house that was only 3 years old, and it wouldn't be able to run Warcraft 3 just because the processor was too old. Like, at that time period, PCs were getting fast so quickly. It's not like today, where every year Intel just puts out like a 5% bump on its latest processor refresh or something. Whereas back in the day, freaking the gap between a Pentium 2 and a Pentium 4 was huge. And the Pentium 4 and a dual-core processor was huge.
I'm going to look up PC games from 2001 and find like something that was graphically impressive at the time.
What I'm curious about, well, first of all, the first thing that shocked me, so I got Evolve on PC. And this Unscripted Access is pretty much, this is like a preview for the raid. Like this.
Oh man, this is
we do have console stuff to talk about, which we'll get to. But with Evolve, the recommended AMD CPU is actually an APU for that. Like, is it seriously getting to the point where it's that bad on AMD's side? Like, it's gonna get to the point. Like, think about it. Like, when the next, let's say, Crisis comes out, they have to put an AMD processor for recommended. So, what are they going to put? Because AMD's so far behind, it's ridiculous. Like,
it's not just that they're far behind, but it's also that Intel and Nvidia, if AMD even tries to compete, they have enough R&D money to solve their problems. Like, freaking AMD is not gigantic, whereas Intel's like super huge, and Nvidia is like the graphics card manufacturer of the moment. Like, AMD just doesn't have the R&D power to pump out. Like, they're going to pump out a new processor eventually, like a brand new architecture that isn't based on Bulldozer, but they don't have the same amount of R&D prowess that Intel. Not to mention they're changing CEOs like every 3 months or something.
All right, guys, we should move to the news though.
Yeah, let's move. We will continue this type of stuff on the raid. I'm gonna try to make it on the raid too because I've like officially signed my life over to PC gaming. So yeah, on to consoles, guys. 2 hours in. Xbox One February update is rolling out now. What does the February update include? Controller enhancements. So now the Xbox One can connect to the Xbox One controller can connect to the Xbox One in about 2 seconds versus the 4 to 5 seconds it used to take before. Also some stability improvements. Game hubs. So pretty much if you go to a game, they're pretty much own dedicated social page that the developers or publishers of the game get to manage, and that's where you can find like updates, trailers, DLC, blah blah blah. So pretty much just improving upon what they already have. Party chat updates, chat connection status, improved connectivity, game and party invitations, performance enhancements. Now they allow custom backgrounds with tile transparency, and there are some updates to the TV stuff. So pretty decent update. It's pretty cool that we've been seeing. I don't think we saw one in January because of the holidays, but it's been pretty cool to see these monthly updates from Xbox. I know as far as on the PlayStation 4, the last big one was 2.0, which came out, what was that? That was like 6 months ago, right? When they came out with SharePlay. So Sony's definitely been not as much on the ball with releasing improvements. To be fair, though, they kind of launched with better software than the Xbox One in the first place. So they had less fixing to do, which could be part of the reason. But I'm sure Sony's working on their next big firmware. It's just with Sony, they release it less often, but when they release it, it's more of an impact. So we'll see what, I mean, SharePlay is a pretty crucial feature. Sony doesn't market it, so I don't think they're going to get the benefit of it, but I tested it out not too long ago, and it's very impressive. Very impressive. Just to give you like an idea, so I was able to pretty much have someone that did not own Far Cry 4, did not own the game, okay, and allowed him to play the game off my console, which was pretty sick. And he said that there was like very little lag and all that stuff. So pretty cool feature. It's just typical Sony. They'll have plenty of great games and features, but they do not market it. They just kind of, with Sony, it's just more of let it speak for itself. If it doesn't speak for itself, it'll die. And that's what happened to the Vita. So yeah. PlayStation 4, like Sony doesn't market a PlayStation 4 that heavily. They market it, but not that heavily. But it sells so well because of word of mouth. And the PlayStation 4 speaks for itself. Versus the Xbox One, now it's starting to catch back up because of price, but also the Xbox One had bad press going into it, and a lot of people, unless you follow the gaming industry, you don't know when those changes are made. So some of these people are just now finding out, oh, they didn't follow through with that stupid DRM plan, So yeah, but yeah, cool update. What are your guys' thoughts on it?
I think. Speaking of that whole DRM thing, I remember, like, Bronson and I, we were standing in line for the PlayStation 4 launch, and we interviewed a couple people in line, and one of the people that we did interview, said, yeah, because Xbox One's doing that DRM thing, even though, like, a few weeks or, like, a month earlier, the Xbox said, no, we're not doing it.
Before. Like, even
months ago. But there were, like, people in that line who still thought that Xbox One still was going through with their DRM plan. So, it's like for people like us, we catch on to it very quickly, and we're like, okay, yeah, I don't do doing any PR. Okay, that's a quick turnaround. But the general public doesn't catch on to stuff as fast unless it's like a major headline news that's blared into their face. So,
right, like when DRM kind of came out, that's a huge news announcement. Like that's the stuff you'll start seeing on like Forbes and CNN, like crazy stuff. When they announce it's no longer in, those big outlets aren't going to cover that,
Yeah, so, and that's why we that's something that Bronson and I caught on to when we noticed some people on the line thought DRM was still a thing on that system. Yeah. Freaking game companies coming up with their own policies for used games.
Well, I remember Sony was going to do that with the PlayStation 3 at first. They said they were going to try to do some crazy stuff like that.
Do we really want to talk about the fact that the PS3 would If they would,
which I mean, there's an advantage with console versus PC. Console, you buy a game, you can sell it or trade it in after. Versus PC, you don't have that.
Yeah,
you can't rent PC games. At least, I would not be surprised if Steam offers something in the future, though.
Yeah, one reason thing that people like have asked me is like, why do we do 6-minute access on consoles most of the time, even though, and the reason is because they don't fucking have GameFly for PC games. If they did, we'd do it on fucking PC a lot of the time. We just, oh well. Anyway.
Yeah, so
I think like doesn't Steam gonna come out with some borrow option in the future or something?
Yeah.
It's like
it makes sense. I mean, that's a huge market they could capitalize on. So we'll see. But what does everyone else think of the update? I think it's pretty cool. Like, this is like, I mean, these consoles, they definitely are, there are custom PCs, but the fact that you can update the controller is actually pretty cool. To make it connect to the Xbox One faster. Because that's one thing I haven't tested it myself, but that's one thing I did notice with Xbox One. Sometimes it took forever for it to actually connect with the Xbox One and turn the damn thing on.
You just described the Xbox One in general. And this thing takes forever.
Yeah. It's quite ironic.
Wait, what?
Because Microsoft is the software company here, okay? Sony is the hardware. And Microsoft had the weaker software. I mean, with the 360 and PS3, it was different. 360 blew the PS3 out of the water as far as software and network infrastructure went. But this Xbox One interface, awful. Well, it's not awful, but the 360 interface is still, to this day, better than the Xbox One, if you ask me.
That completely astounds me. Yeah, I'm astounded.
It's like who was the lead on designing the Xbox One interface? Because they did awful. They did awful. Like, Phil Spencer, he has to, the guy, and probably redoing the entire thing. It's just like with the 360, where they came out with 2 or 3 UI rehauls and
like when the 360 launched, its UI was fucking fantastic. It's just that over time, because of the way the industry went, it had to.
The UI got outmoded, if that's the right word.
Yeah,
because it had that UI when the internet was exploding bigger, and like 2005 was the Xbox 360. 2006 YouTube was launched for the first time. Like, the internet was getting huge, and then DLC was coming huge, and the Blades just couldn't keep up. So, they had to give the NXC, which I'm not a fan of, and then they switched to Metro. So
I like NXC a lot more than I liked Metro.
I like Metro if only they could design the buttons better and reduce the ads. Because the ads, they're not even relevant. They're just like, we're going to advertise companies on your Xbox now while you pay your gold subscription.
Yeah, they make more money off of you.
What's the next topic though? Like, I guess this update's fine. It just seems really minor and not worth talking about, I guess.
Yeah. All right, so moving on.
You want to talk about minor updates? You just see what Nintendo does with their systems.
Okay.
To them, it's like, we made the eShop slightly better. That warrants an entire version upgrade from version 4 to 5.
Or we can go back to PC and talk about the God knows how many Windows updates that come out every month.
Well, it's mostly for security. Actually, it's not like features. It's mostly security.
Yeah, service. They come out. They've only had They only had one service pack for Windows 7, for example.
Yeah, and Windows 8 it just went from 8 to 8.1, and 8.1's like it's a free upgrade actually to 8. And then 10's gonna even be more crazy because I think it's free.
Windows 10, 7. That's awesome. You can upgrade
for the first
Windows
year.
10. Yeah, as long as you have Windows 7 or Windows 8, as long as you upgrade to 10 within the first year, you get it for free, which is great because especially for gaming, Windows 10 is going to be huge because of DirectX 12.
Everyone is getting a boner about DirectX 12 and how it's going to revolutionize the way an Xbox One's going to catch up to PS4. Which, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but if it does, that will be unbelievable.
Yeah, which is a perfect segue, because the CEO of Stardock, Brad Wardell, came out and talked a little bit about how DirectX 12 and these innovations with the consoles are changing things, and he pretty much came out and said that so for example, PS3 when it launched, so they'll take like the first Resistance and they'll go The Last of Us, like two total like completely freaking different. Okay, completely different. And with PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, we've had some people say that, well, isn't it going to be less of a jump because these are more like custom PCs and they're able to take advantage of them from the start? Well, according to Wardell, there's going to be a bigger jump because these consoles are more like PCs. They're going to be able to take advantage of what's coming with like DirectX 12, and then Sony has their own thing going on. So he's saying that what we see happen with the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One is going to be radically different what we see now versus what we see in the future. He actually went as far as saying, we always hear these like claims, and I don't think they'll ever happen. Like, for example, people are saying the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One we're going to be able to like Avatar style graphics. There's just no freaking way that'll happen. We aren't even there with PC.
Avatar was made on a giant load of render farms.
Right.
And Avatar isn't that old of a movie either.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have games looking like Avatar for at least another 7 to 8 years. Like, maybe in 7 years.
Well,
we'll have the NVIDIA 16800, and it'll be able to run games that look as good as Avatar. But
yeah, because I remember when Toy Story came out, and like that was the holy grail to get to a game that looked like Toy Story, and like we're finally like, I would say with the PS3 we got to that point where games look as good as Toy Story, the original Toy Story.
I don't know if I'd say the PS3 got there.
No.
I'm even pushing it. I don't even know if the PlayStation 4 is there yet, to be honest. I mean,
when you're talking about avatars, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, look at Toy Story. Look how long ago Toy Story came out. It's so unbelievable.
That movie came out in like '96, I think.
But yeah, like Anthony said, they use these render farms. Like I remember for Avatar, like you can read up on it, guys. Like the rendering for Avatar was absolutely ridiculous. Like they had full on like warehouses of just bunch of computers rendering frame by frame.
Freaking giant servers is basically what they were. And they probably cost thousands upon thousands of dollars each. That's like the kind of budget that movie has. And you know, like Avatar is like probably a 4K film that came out to theaters in 1080p. So can you try and get that kind of graphical power with at 4K resolution? No. 1080p?
Not anytime soon.
Freaking, oh my goodness. It's like, and that's a 1 hour film. And here's the other thing too. When you make a film or a tech demo, like that Samaritan demo they had for Unreal 4, I think, the camera is controlled. It looks in a certain direction.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, the camera is controlled. It looks at a certain direction, so you only have to focus on where the camera is looking. Whereas in a game, say a shooter, what if this explosion happens at this time? What if there are 10 explosions happening at this time? What if all the players on this map just all decide to shoot, not just like bullets at each other, but, throw some, explosives in addition of jet flies over and the building's collapsing at the same time. Anything can happen in a game because it's like a variable environment. Can you keep your frame rate up versus the movie or cutscene or, animation or whatever that has a fixed camera viewpoint, so you only need to focus on optimizing that one spot.
And that's why more so back in the day, less now, a lot of like cutscenes are now in engine, but that's why back in the day, like especially the Final Fantasy games, you'd watch these cutscenes and the CG would be amazing, and then you'd play the game.
Imagine watching?
And it looked totally different. The reason why is because those cutscenes were rendered before they were rendered beforehand. So all your console's doing is playing the video. That's why it looks so good. And that's because it's predetermined what's going to happen. Versus within a game, like I said, you don't know what the player is going to do. You don't. So that takes up a lot more. So to think that a game will look as good as Avatar Will we get there? Yeah, we'll get there. But like I said, I think it'll be at least another 7 to 8 years before we get there. And then, but just a fun fact though, I read not too long ago that I think it's the iPhone 6 is more powerful than the entire world's technology. I think it was like 25 years ago. One iPhone 6 is more powerful than like the entire world's technology put together like 25 years ago. Isn't that scary?
I mean, frickin' your basic calculator today is more powerful than the computer they put on the frickin' Apollo missions to the moon.
Which, just imagine 25 years from now. 25 years from now.
25 years in
We're going to have a cell phone that is more powerful than frickin' like 100 980s running together. Like, can you like just imagine what that crap's going to be able to do? It's going to be
25
scary.
years from now, if I were to take a guess from some certain research that I've been hearing about, the world may have figured out how to simulate the brain, the human brain. Your neuro simulations.
Now that's scary.
Isn't that scary? I mean, it probably wouldn't simulate the entire human brain, because that's going to take a really long time, but simulate even a portion of it? Yeah, neuro studies or neurosciences or something like that.
That's actually very scary, because then you're talking about people being able to manipulate the brain. Oh my god. It's going to be freaking crazy. Freaking iRobot's going to happen. But,
you put in some rules, but because you have to rush your product out, it has a bug.
Oh gosh.
It's very broken. And you claim it is okay, and you did the best you could, but you know what? That product has to come out on time, so you rushed it out the door. Ah, well. Correct.
Alright, so
but
next piece of
cool.
news.
So moving along here. Continuing on with similar, so DirectX 12, it's gonna be part of Windows 10. Supposedly, early testings of an alpha build of DirectX 12 shows increases of up to 400% on AMD GPUs and 150% on NVIDIA GPUs.
400% on AMD GPUs? What?
Yes.
Did they test this on like some wimpy, tiny little budget $20 card that you could buy at Best Buy, or?
No. So for example, no, these are their actual cards. So for example, there's this benchmarking program. The GTX 980 scored 26.7 frames per second on DirectX 11. DirectX 12, 66.8. That's huge. And then, but then for AMD, their Radeon R9 290X scored 8.3 frames per second. With DirectX 12, it scored 42.9. And this is the Star Swarm demo. That this was.
What?
Yes.
I'm sorry, so you're taking a graphics card that was completely outdated, and with DirectX 12, it's now new again. Is basically what I just heard.
Pretty much what I'm saying here.
Holy crap.
Incredible improvements in CPU efficiency and multi-threading. Yes, please promote multi-threading. I have a 6-core processor now. You guys need to freaking use that damn thing. So multi-threading, yes.
400%. Wow. I still think that is...
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I might understand this wrong, but wouldn't the increase in AMD mainly be due to Mantle currently? Because isn't that a part of DirectX 12 or no?
No. Mantle was AMD's own. It's like the AMD DirectX or something. That's the wrong way of putting it. It was their own separate API that they tried to do on their own to try and give their graphics card an advantage over NVIDIA. It was their own separate API. Okay, it's not based on DirectX and it's not based on OpenGL. It's something that they came up on their own. And, you know, it's their way of keeping up with NVIDIA and saying games that support Mantle will run faster than the NVIDIA card on DirectX. Like, that was what they tried to do. And now that DirectX 12 is happening, I think Mantle's going to die. It's like one of those things that AMD tried to do and put a lot of money in to try and get an edge somehow, and this is probably one of those cases where it didn't really fully work out. But that's what Mantle is. And
Yeah,
DirectX 12 has kind of like the same idea as Mantle, which is getting the developers closer to the hardware with less bloat in between, so you free up the CPU and GPU up some more.
This is pretty nuts.
400%, you go from 8 frames per second, which is completely unplayable, to 44 frames, which is very playable. And that's according to the benchmark, I think, right?
Yeah, now obviously this is a benchmark, and it's probably optimized for it. So real world will probably see different results, but still, it's very promising. Especially with me getting into this PC gaming thing, I'm super excited for DirectX 12.
Nick, why are you spending so much money on your computer?
Well, because then I'll be able to run games at fucking 1,000 frames per second.
Oh man, that's just gonna break your TV. It's like 1,000 frames.
Could you imagine if I did not have VSync on and was pushing like 1,000 frames a second to my TV?
I don't think your TV would break. It would just have screen tearing everywhere.
It would be so bad.
400%? I think that's a little too much of a unicorn land thing to exist in the real world. Because it's like 400%, well, that kind of improvement sounds almost like BS, because if it's that huge of an improvement, why haven't they freaking discovered this earlier? Like, seriously.
They would keep wanting us to buy the latest graphics cards. It's all a trick.
DirectX isn't even like an NVIDIA or a AMD thing. It's a Microsoft thing.
The card has to be able to support it, though.
I know, but it's just like...
That's another reason why I went with the 980, because the 980 has been marketed as like the flagship DX12 card for now. So
Yeah. To be usurped next year.
Yeah, we won't honestly know. We'll really know once.
This is the kind of stuff that makes me sometimes wonder. It's like, maybe Xbox does have a chance to catch up to PS4 in an unexpected way that's going to light the internet on fire.
But Sony has stuff going on too, though.
I know, but again, like I remember a few weeks ago, I said, yes, Sony has a dedicated team, and they have made the promise that under no circumstances will their PlayStation 4 be slower than an Xbox One. But I don't think it's like they have direct control over OpenGL, which I think is the graphics API in that system. Microsoft has control over the Xbox One and DirectX, because DirectX is a Microsoft thing. They totally can do what they can, and they got an entire army of operating system and hardware and software and assembly programming engineers to make stuff happen for the Xbox One. Sony, probably not as much. So if somehow Microsoft catches up to Sony, that would be a very interesting day.
Very possible, because let's keep in mind the PlayStation 4 is not like leaps and bounds more powerful than the Xbox One. It is more powerful, but not leaps and bounds.
Hence why I say, if somehow the Xbox One with DirectX 12 catches up somehow or gets very close, that's going to be a very interesting conversation. Granted, actually, to be honest, I think I read somewhere that the Xbox One's gains are not going to be as big as they will be on the PC, because the Xbox One already has some features of DirectX 12. Some. Just not the full glamorous set. Because it's a game console and they can optimize it and do some special tricks to it that you can't do on the PC yet.
Right.
So the jump on the Xbox One won't be as big. But it does have some DirectX 12 features when it came out, was what I read. Granted, I read this on a wiki article, so I could be completely wrong. Because it's wiki.
Right. Bronson, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. Like, I'm very much in that I want to see it to believe it type thing. That's pretty much mine.
400% is too much of a unicorn number to me.
Yeah,
way too much.
Windows 10.
Because if it's 400%, that's like saying it's like install this little piece of plastic in your car and you'll magically gain double the power and gas mileage at the same time. It just sounds a little too ridiculous to be true. I mean, and it's a benchmark. That is a very controlled kind of thing. It's very controlled kind of environment. Real world results, again, freaking real games, anything can happen. What if in Dragon Age I leap off this cliff and while dragons are flying everywhere and the world's on fire and there's rainbows flying everywhere. Or Saints Row 5, where if you take path A, this will happen, but if you take path B, something completely different happens. Just, yeah.
Alright, so what's the next news story?
Cool. So, moving along. Completely shocking here, guys. Like, completely huge. Titanfall 2 is probably coming to the PlayStation 4. So, Blake Jorgensen, CFO at Electronic Arts, came out and said, quote, "Last year it was on the Xbox only. In the future, we haven't yet announced, but we'll probably have another Titanfall game. It will probably be a bigger footprint than just a single platform. I think that's a huge positive for us," end quote.
Well, I mean, we've known this since the first Titanfall.
Yeah. They just keep dropping hints. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Titanfall announced at this E3, like a second Titanfall.
I'd be down. Like, Titanfall was a good base. Like, I want to see them expand on that idea. Like, have a solid single-player campaign, you know, have more maps and modes. Like, Titanfall was...
Don't use the Source engine.
Dude, no, that game looked fine.
I guess.
Well, that game looked fine, especially because, like, they were going for the effect of, we want this to run on most computers.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, like, that game, like, if you max that game out on PC, it looked really good.
Yeah, but you can always have a game run super low settings and then have super high settings.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what the PC version is. Like, and they wanted it to run 60 frames, 1080p on Xbox, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, like that... Yeah, and it also had to run on Xbox 360, so... yeah, that game, you know, like, I really liked Titanfall. I mean, I remember, like, so I had a week between my last job and my current job where I had off. And that's the week I got my Xbox One. I spent the entire fucking week playing Titanfall. That's all I fucking did was play Titanfall and occasionally Killer Instinct, but mostly Titanfall.
Yeah, Titanfall is a good game.
I prestiged in a week.
That's
like,
nuts.
Like that game was fucking heroin to me when I first got it. It's just it didn't have enough content to sustain it. It needed more maps. It needed a single player would have been nice. You know, like could you imagine like a Call of Duty style single player with fucking Titanfall? Holy shit.
That'd be awesome.
Like, I will say, like, the first time I played that beta, and the first time you jump up onto a Titan and start shooting it was like, oh my fucking god. This is the best goddamn game ever.
It was pretty sick. And then the jetpacks were pretty awesome.
Parkour was cool, the wall running stuff. That was neat.
Yeah.
Like I said, just needed more content. Like, that game... Same problem Destiny had, actually. Like, both those games, like... Had they had another year in development to put more content in them.
Yeah, both of them had a lot of hype. I mean, Titanfall didn't have as much as Destiny, but Titanfall was deemed as the game that will launch the Xbox One and take over the PlayStation 4, and it just did not happen.
I mean,
it was also available on PC.
And Xbox 360.
Yeah.
Everyone forgets that little.
But from the 360, because remember the 360 version, Microsoft tried to hide that. They did not even promote that whatsoever.
And it wasn't a bad version either. Like I got to check it out.
Yeah, that's why it said. So I said it was gonna be one of the two things. They're not talking about the 360 version because one, it's gonna be the worst port ever and it's gonna be awful. Or two, this is a Source engine. It doesn't look honestly that great on Xbox One. They aren't going to promote it because honestly, it looks pretty similar and is pretty much the exact same game. So why would someone buy an Xbox One for Titanfall when they can either play it on PC or get the similar experience on the Xbox 360?
I mean, that game. Yeah, like I said, I think. I feel the same way about Destiny. Is like that game. It needed to be rushed to market because they need to get it out there. But had both those games got another year in development, they would have been like, they would have gone from these are both really good but flawed to these are both fucking amazing.
Well, yeah, that's what kind of, it kind of happened and kind of didn't for Drive Club. Like, Drive Club I played it at E3 2 years ago when they were supposed to launch it with the PlayStation 4. And I didn't like it. It visually was not impressive. The game just didn't play that well. And they made that game so much better. Now, obviously, when they launched it, they had all the online issues. But take that away, it's a much better game. So, I mean, look at Battlefield. They delayed Battlefield. Batman was delayed. Yeah, it's frustrating when a game gets delayed, but at the same time, you at least know that it's not going to be rushed, which is always a good thing.
I mean, yeah, I would rather have a game be delayed than, relive the Master Chief Collection. And,
that game is still a mess.
Actually, I play that game still, and it's not really that bad. The matchmaking times are still a little too long, but at least you're getting into games relatively quickly, and, it's alright. That said, I remember that, that game came out for review, and it's okay, the multiplayer is not going to be in it and ready till, a week before. So you have to. So I go through. I beat the campaign of the second Halo and the third Halo, and I'm like, okay, and and I'm just like, okay, well, this is weird, okay, and then they release the multiplayer match, and I'm thinking and I go into matchmaking, and it's not working, and I'm like, huh, this is weird, but I guess it's because, at most, 1,000 people have the game, right? And I'm like, okay, well, let's... So I do the press session, but I'm like, I'm still not going to review this until I get into real matchmaking. Game comes out, the day it's out, I go on thinking, great, man, it's going to be awesome. It's just not working, and I'm like, the fuck is going on? And, it's just a massive broken-ass shit that took them over a month to get working properly.
Which you would think, being the Halo team, which kind of revolutionized online gaming in a way, you would think their online actually works.
Yeah, they screwed up so bad.
Here's the thing.
How do you not properly beta test that game? Come on. And then Drive Club, a game that's solely the game's based on social and online. You guys can't take a risk of launching a game like that and having online issues. And the thing is, let me just fill you guys in a little bit. I'm bringing in some of my experience from my paying job here. So for example, we do this big app for this tennis tournament every single year, and we've been working hard getting this app ready. And one of the big concerns is, okay, it's the biggest tennis tournament in the world outside of the 4 major finals. And the problem there is that, okay, how many people are going to be using the app, first of all? We don't know. And then we can't have the app break down on us because the tournament paid us a lot of money to make this app, and if it doesn't work, it's going to make us look awful, and that prevents future business. But there's various ways you can do it. There's various services. I don't know how it works on the gaming server basis, but for example, on apps, there is various services where you can pretty much simulate and stress test something by simulating traffic coming through. So there's something that we use for the app where we just had over 100,000 people pinging the app nonstop because we knew it to a certain extent. There's not going to be 100,000 people using the app at the same time. So will the app run stable at 100,000? Yes, it will. Well, okay, cool. We're comfortable launching this. You have to design
for worst case scenario. I remember listening at Halo Fest, listening about how they designed Halo 2, and they're like, yeah, we planned for worst case scenario of just fucking, we planned for them just in case that Xbox One brought up fucking we can't for the case of they're about 250,000 people on Xbox Live at any one time. Well, we planned for worst case scenario of 1 million people being on at once. What happens that night? All their servers at mass capacity. They're well, good job, we planned for that.
Yeah, so it's if especially Drive Club, they mess up so bad because you gotta understand, a lot of people are just oh, why didn't delay it? Well, you gotta understand, from the gamer standpoint, yeah, we all want that, but when they need to delay it, that is. But I understand from a business standpoint, when you delay a game an entire year, you are paying your staff an entire year's salary on a project that you could otherwise release and start working on something else. So
but
delaying a game an entire year is very costly. So if you're gonna spend that time and money to do that, why would you not spend some time making sure that, hey, this very social racer needs to be working stable online if for some reason 1 million people go buy the game day one? Because it's always easy to be overprepared. It's always easy to be overprepared and be like, oh, wow, we've only got this many people. Let's cut down on our servers. Then to be like, oh, wow, we need a lot more servers. And now we have it crashing. People can't access it. We have to go out there and issue press releases and then talk to the press about it. It's just, it doesn't make sense.
And on the other side of that, like, if you have to delay it again, what is, like, you already delayed it a year, what's one more month at this point?
Right.
Like, it still would have came out in November. It still would have been out during the holiday season.
Especially, like, it'd been different. This was like Gran Turismo, okay? Like, Gran Turismo, it wouldn't have been as big of a deal because Gran Turismo, up to its current point, isn't too much based on the internet, whereas Drive Club was really, really promoted.
It's in its fucking name, Drive Club.
Yeah.
Social networking driving. Actually, do you know what the bewildering thing is that what made no sense to my brain was that Bronson and I were literally filming 60-minute access of that game the night before it was due to launch. And it was about 8 or 9 p.m. So it was just about to come out on the East Coast. I think I forgot what the date was for Europe. But the servers wouldn't work when we were filming 60-minute access. And I'm like, oh, this is strange. And then I find out it wouldn't work for weeks. And then they were like, we're sorry, here's some free stuff. And then now it finally works. I'm able to enjoy Drive Club properly by, challenging leaderboards, scoring up points for our TGA club on Drive Club. And yeah, but it was just like, man, that review that I gave about the online gaming and its features, that's not really entirely true because the online doesn't work. It's just...
And yeah, see, Anthony, you had patience with that game because you like the game and are really into racers. Most people, they see it's not working, they're never going to play it again.
I mean, I was kind of bewildered because when I reviewed that game, it was working. I mean, granted, there was only like maybe 5 people or 6 people online ever. And, when it worked, I'm like, you know what? This could be pretty awesome. I really love this game. I'm enjoying it for the most part. I like playing it online. I love the one-upmanship of the things. I like making the club. I like challenging other people. I like, competing on leaderboards. I like Drive Club. But when the online broke, you literally just took away about half the game right there. And it was just like, that 8.5 I gave just wasn't entirely relevant because... Well, that assumes like, things work, which they didn't for a while.
That's part of the reason that, like, even if we get a game early, if it has a huge online component, I don't post the review until I get on the live servers.
And I think that's kind of like a point, too, because it's like, you know what? Yeah, I'll just put it up. And that was, like, the first time that I reviewed a game that just didn't work when it came out. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like... And this is like a trend that everyone's just kind of ranting on about lately, about games that come out that don't work and then just get patched. Put the game out first, and then we'll fix the problems later. And then we'll just make some free DLC pack or some small little fun add-ons to say sorry. So, don't worry about it, it's Halo. It'll still make lots of money.
Which, like, Halo... Like, had I gone off what I played in that press session, where, like, yeah, 343 is going to be hosting games, so, because the matchmaking is obviously a problem of there only being, like, at any one time, 100 people on the servers. Will host games. If I would have gone off that Master Chief Collection would have got a fucking 9.5. I would have been like, fuck yes, you need to play this. But, I mean, oh god. But I waited for the game to go live and it was still broken. Weird thing about that press session is they booked our press session with IGNs. That was so weird. Like, you see those videos and you see those personalities from that site, like, on the internet, and you're like, oh yeah, people who work on the internet. And then like you're playing a game with them and talking with them, and you're like, oh fuck, this is weird. So, yeah. So,
were you playing with any big names?
Alfredo Diaz and Ryan McCaffrey, who
Okay,
one of those guys runs their Xbox channel. So,
got it.
yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. So relatively big names. I know Alfredo Diaz has been in some of their more popular videos. They're nice guys. So I don't know. And then we were playing with some guy from like some publication up in Canada. So, yeah, man, that was weird. So, any other news?
All right, moving along. I think we have. Oh yes, huge news. This is, and this, I'm being honest here. I'm not tricking you guys. Bethesda will be hosting their first ever E3 conference. We are almost ready for our close-up, is what they're saying. So, when this image saying we're ready for our close-up, and we have a press conference,
did Brittany tweet you a bunch of shit about Fallout 4 like she
and
did
the
for
Elder
me?
Scrolls 6 speculation?
No, she did not tweet me.
Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, the world went nuts. Like, just it's funny how the release of a picture can have such impact. That's how a lot of people have gotten famous, whether it be the picture they wanted to get out or not. It's how a lot of bad things have happened. It's caused a lot of issues. But it was pretty nuts. So they released this, and the entire internet, well, not the entire, but a large percent of the internet just went crazy. Because what is everyone thinking? Oh,
Fallout, Elder Scrolls.
Fallout 4 and a new Elder Scrolls. And everyone's going nuts.
And this is the same internet that thinks that Skyrim was the best thing that was ever made.
Here's what I'll say. Am I excited for a new Elder Scrolls? No. Am I excited for a new Fallout? Possibly. Depends what they do with it.
See, I'm the complete other end of that. Like, after Fallout 3, fuck Fallout. But I'd be okay with another Elder Scrolls. You know, depending on the setting. Hey guys, what does Dragonborn say when it's reborn as a goat?
What?
Let's roll bah.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even know if that's supposed to be funny. I don't get it.
It's funny
to
dumb.
me.
It's funny because it's so dumb.
You can thank my coworker for that.
The joke is in the terribleness. Great.
I was talking with my coworker about Skyrim. I was letting her borrow my PlayStation copy, and she was talking about wanting to get further into it. And then she played it. She's like, "Why is it so choppy?" And I'm like, "It's Skyrim."
Yeah, they didn't. The PS3 version is still to this day jacked up because my girlfriend wanted to play through it and she put it like 40, 50 hours into that. It's so funny because like she's playing on my account and I get these messages from people and I'm like, dude, you play Skyrim? Dude, you've been playing Skyrim a lot. And I'm like, no, that's my girlfriend playing it.
This is why you need to get her.
I saw her play a little bit, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, this game freaking runs awful."
See, man. Now what you can do is have her play it on your PC and have it not run like shit.
Yeah.
After you mod the living shit out of it, so it looks better and runs correctly.
Right. That's another thing I'm excited for with PC gaming is mods. I need to figure out what this world of mods is all about.
Dude, for Skyrim is like one of the best games for it. Like, wait for a Steam sale for Skyrim to go on sale, then fuck around with mods.
Ice Crown Citadel. Yeah, Normandy's wrecked on Tamriel.
The Master Sword. You can get the Master Sword from Zelda as a weapon. That was pretty great.
You have people who can make the game better than Bethesda themselves.
Didn't people like improve the graphics of that with mods?
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah, this is a case of a bunch of
How
hobbyists.
how does that work? Because
Bethesda released the mod kit for that game. That's one of the reasons why it's so popular among PC enthusiasts, is because you are so free to mod and make things for the game. Which actually brings me up to an interesting point. Did you know, like, a bunch of hobbyists and enthusiasts are doing a better job of fixing Skyrim than the developers themselves, who actually get paid lots of money? I am not joking. Like, which is part of the reason why I think, like, Bethesda holding we have a special press conference. Just like EA, we are cool. Because all we have to say is say Fallout 4 and Elder Scrolls 6, and all of you will come flocking with us with your cash, whether you want to or not. I mean, that's literally the case. Like, because everyone's going to be so stoked for Elder Scrolls 6, I'm going to end up buying it too.
There's so much hype for Fallout 4, and like...
I'm in the camp
could be given.
That's how I feel about Fallout, because I tried Fallout 3. I liked Oblivion a lot. In fact, if it's anything, it's one of like the big games that got me into the Xbox 360 PS3 generation was Oblivion. I'm just like, hey, Fallout 3, it's made by a similar studio, right? Flat out didn't get it. I just didn't get it. I'm sorry. It's just the Wasteland just does not appeal to me whatsoever.
There's a way to design a Wasteland so it doesn't suck, and that game did a really bad job of it.
Yeah. And I just didn't get it.
That played like crap, was really glitchy, dumb story. Fuck Fallout 3.
And in the case of Skyrim,
that game is bad. Fallout 3 is like legit. Like, we complain about Skyrim a lot, and it has problems, but fucking legitimately, Fallout, but Skyrim is still a solid video game. Like, Fallout 3 is a bad video game, and I don't get why it's so beloved and so fucking popular.
In the case of Skyrim, I think it's overrated. Like, I think it is overrated to the point where you can't even say anything against the game because the fan base is so big and so adamant that this is one of the greatest giant sandboxes that has ever been conceived in the history of gaming kind, that you can't really say anything against it. But it's good.
Yeah, but there's people talk shit about GTA 5 all the...
I don't spend 70 or 80 hours in most games that I play. So it kind of says something when I put that much time into Skyrim, even though I think that I'm tired of the seeing Snowland all the time. I hate that there's always a mountain no matter where I walk, and I kind of felt like the game was more about quantity than quality.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Like, I would rather have a really, really awesome 3-hour game like Metal Gear Rising than, like, the 30 hours I spent in Fallout 3 and wanted to vomit.
Like, Oblivion had quality. That's the thing that I argue. Oblivion had quality, and it felt like a cool world that actually responded to what you did. Because... Sorry. It responded to what you did, because, once you finish the main story, all the Oblivion gates are gone. They're all gone. You can't go back into Oblivion. But if you start a new game, you can go back into Oblivion. And that's why I have like 4 or 5 different characters. Is because, hey, I want to start this character. Oh man, I always thought about playing this character as an archer. Oh man, I wonder what magic is like. It actually gave you an incentive to start a new character. Whereas in Skyrim, you kill the dragons, you kill the big head honcho dragon, and guess what? They're like, thank you for helping us. Now let's get back to our civil war. And the dragons are still flying around, and everyone is still stabbing each other, and the world doesn't change a bit. Even if you go out and kill the Emperor Tamriel, became a werewolf, and plundered all the ruins of the Dwarven Kingdom. The world doesn't give a crap. As far as I could... That's my Skyrim rant.
I would love for them to put your quote on the back of the box. Skyrim, the world doesn't give a crap.
That's what it felt like to me. You become an assassin of the Dark Brotherhood, you kill the Emperor, and the world was like, hey, did you know the Emperor died? Back to work. Let's go back to fighting our civil war. Hey, the head honcho dragon is dead, but all the other dragons like, so what? We don't fucking follow him. Let's continue to terrorize Skyrim.
That needs to be the name of this episode. Skyrim. The world doesn't give a crap.
That's what I didn't like about Skyrim. The world just didn't give a shit what you did, even if you were a werewolf, mage, vampire that killed the emperor, killed the dragons, and stopped the civil war, and crowned some dude. I forgot what the title was. And went up High Hrothgar and climbed the 5,000 steps. They don't care about you. All that fantasy of success is basically you telling yourself, oh, but there's so much to do. Look how awesome I am. But the rest of the world was just like, so? You could be a secret werewolf and terrorize somebody across, like 50 towns away, and you walk into a new town, they probably don't care. Or maybe they do care. Or maybe your character's brain has an epilepsy the moment you dive your head underwater. So you gotta quit out of the game, delete your install, reinstall the whole game, reinstall all patches, and hope it works again.
Yeah, I did not get into Skyrim at all, but what I will be saying, especially since it just, with this beast of a PC I built, I pretty much have to try it. The Witcher 3, I'm gonna give that game a shot.
Yeah, it's like The Witcher 3
suddenly become... The Witcher 2, man. Like, The Witcher 2
The Witcher 3 instantly Here's the thing. I noticed
what's The Witcher 2 going for on Steam? Do you know?
Like $20-$30 probably.
Wait, yeah, I might check it out.
I got the Steam sale for $5. So.
Oh wow! When did The Witcher 2 come out again?
2011 or 2012, one of the two.
Yeah. So Witcher 3 comes out in June, I think, or is it May? I think it's
May. It's the end of May.
It's The Witcher 3 suddenly landed on everyone's PC radar just because of. It's gonna be a benchmarking tool.
It's just like what happened with Crysis.
Crysis,
like to this day,
Crysis. Yeah. That's basically the saying. It's like saying, will it blend, but it's the PC version.
Crysis 3 is still used for benchmarks. Still.
I mean, like, that's how much Crysis 1 was. And I feel like The Witcher 3 is just on everyone's PC enthusiast radar because, just because of the system specs. And I kind of feel like that's a little bit of a sad thing because I kind of want to appreciate the game, not just look at it as some benchmarking tool. Because it's like when I upgrade my graphics card, it's gonna be like, oh man, I gotta buy The Witcher 3 to see how good it looks. It's like it suddenly went from, oh, this could be an interesting Western RPG to, oh man, I don't want to see how good it looks.
So
that's a little sad, really, for me.
Guys, we're going on 3 hours. Do we got any other news? Because I got one quick news story, then we're done.
Nope, that's the news story for me.
All right, so Resogun is getting an expansion February 17th.
Oh yes, good call. I totally forgot.
It is coming out for $5. It is called Resogun Defenders. It's a standalone expansion as Protector mode, where you have to defend human colonies. It has Commando mode, lets you play as the last human who was left behind, stranded on a distant planet with only a minigun to defend him. Resogun, it also includes a new trophy set, new leaderboards, and that's about it. So, Resogun, in my opinion, was the best game from the PS4's launch, and it was the best game on the PS4 until Infamous came out. So, I'm willing to pay $5 to play some more Resogun.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed Resogun, definitely. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, I would call it this generation's Geometry Wars. Like, that was a 360 game that I played an unhealthy amount of and loved the living crap out of. And this is the same way with Resogun. So, that's pretty much it for that. So, we got questions. We got comments.
Cool.
All right. So, first one is from Cray T. Safe to say, Sony Online Entertainment may actually do something now that they're being funded. If only the Vita division was sold to another company, too.
That's fucking...
Fucking talking shit.
Damn, that is like the worst insult I've heard about the Vita this far.
Oh,
that
man.
Exceeds. Like, Bronson's always hating on the Vita, but I'm sorry, he's got Pete there. Sony should just sell the Vita to someone else.
Like I said, it's if the Vita is selling worse than the Nvidia Shield, that would be really bad.
I mean, the Vita.
I wonder how the Shield's selling.
Probably not well, considering. I have never I've seen Vitas in the wild and at conventions. It's not like a DS where everyone has one. Literally, Nick, you are the only person I know who doesn't own a fucking DS who plays video games. Um, like everyone else I know owns a fucking DS.
Nintendo just doesn't. Their games don't do it for me, man. The
Man,
only game Nintendo really like, yeah, I like the Smash Brothers and stuff, but the game that really got has me is Mario Kart. To this day, Mario Kart is that one game that if I was to buy a Wii U, it would be because of Mario Kart.
they
I
had
think
that bundle
like
for a
Smash
while,
and
though.
Mario Kart got on your top 10 list last year. That was surprising.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
Smash.
I mean, because I mean, I've played a lot of them. I don't have a Wii U, but I mean, for having people over, Super Smash Bros. Freaking amazing. Like,
Dude,
you can
8
have a bunch of people over. Yeah,
Eight-player Smash is fucking amazing.
And now they have a
have
patch to add
people
even
over.
more
And you can play
stages.
Super. I went to one of my. We went to one of my friends' places once. He was having this like big cookout or whatever, and people we was something that it's a cookout. People will probably be gone by like midnight or so. No, we ended up staying up to like 6 o'clock in the morning with like 6 or 7 people playing Smash. It was amazing. And then Mario Kart's just freaking Mario Kart. Like Mario Kart's amazing.
So, I'm trying to figure out how to get so I've been reading up on to see if we can record composite video with our component part of our capture card somehow, and I think I might have found a way to do it. If we can get that to work, you will get to see John, Bremen, myself, and Anthony ruin our friendship in Mario Party.
Nintendo's pretty good at ruining
Mario
friendships.
Party was my game back in the day. I have not played Mario Party on the Wii U though.
Mario Party 2.
It's not out yet. It's not out for like 2 months.
Oh,
yeah,
it's not, okay.
Mario Party 2. Oh
yeah,
man.
the last Mario Party I played was on GameCube.
Yeah, same. The last one I bought was 4.
Yeah, Bronson and I and Tori and I forgot who else was there. We played Mario Party 4 for 2.5 hours. And
it was a video on the site, and fucking man, if you want to see just like if you want like I've been friends with Tori for 3 years. I've been friends with Anthony for like 9. I've been and I forgot the last person we had there, but like you could just see in a 2.5 hour period just these long friendships just fucking erode into hatred.
That's what Nintendo games do when you sit in the same room.
Oh man, I gotta tell you about Nick. I gotta tell you this story about when we were at the first ever Reno Game Expo.
Time.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell the Memorial Day story last time I was on here. How like a girl I was dating at the time and they got me arrested. So I'll tell that story too. But first, the Mario Kart one. It was our first ever panel at the first Reno Game Expo, and we decided to have our friend guest star on the panel with us. He's on a weekly podcast that it's fairly popular. It gets like a couple thousand hits. It's not like Unscripted or the Gamecast, but still a good show. And we see this Mario Kart 64 setup. We decide to play it. And this friend of ours, Theo, is a huge racing game fan. Like, dude's a big car nut, tricks out cars, like, used to street race. And the entire time he's beating Anthony and I. And he gets about, like, 5 yards away from the finish line and gets just raped by lightning bolts, blue shell, red shell, blue shell. He, like, drives 2 feet, gets hit by another red shell. Anthony and I both pass him and he gets in last place.
It's so great.
Sounds like something that would happen in like Drive Club if that stuff existed, thanks to a Rubber Band AI.
Except they're real people doing that to you, or at least 2 of them are real.
So to this day he's still mad about it. Like he will still bring it up with us about how he's just like, I should have won that fucking race, and I'm like nobody cares.
He still brings it up.
So other story for story time. Forgot about this segment. I teased I was going to tell about the last Memorial Day story. So last Memorial Day, I'll start the story from the beginning. In April, there was a 2-week period where I didn't have my car because it broke again, as it often did. And I was riding on the bus, and I saw this cute girl, kind of looked like someone I knew from high school, and I talked to her for a little bit, and I got her phone number. Apparently, I didn't know her. She was in a graduating class like 3 years after me. Like, she's your age, Nick. Um, so and I asked if she wants to hang out. We hang out, and then after that, I asked her if she wants to go on a couple dates. We got a couple dates, and like, for Memorial Day, I was gonna go hang out at Tori's place all the way out in Sparks. And it was gonna be me, Tori, one of Tori's friends, and Tori's friend's boyfriend. And I'm like, yo, do you mind if I bring this person? And she's like, yeah, sure. And we go out there. We're playing Pokemon on the 3DSs. We switch over to Mario Party, and then once again, remember this is Memorial Day weekend. At some point at like 1 in the morning, everyone's like, yeah, we're hungry. Let's go get food. So we drive over to this restaurant in downtown Reno called the Gold and Silver. In fact, it's like Reno's oldest family restaurant. We get there, we have our meal, we drive. I pull out of the parking lot and start driving. Now, I'm not sure if you've ever been to downtown Reno at night, but it's fucking bright. It is like being out at daylight, basically. That's how fucking bright it is. Like, do you remember the Vegas Strip, Nick? It's like that.
Oh, dang. Well, yeah, they do call Reno what they call it, the Little Vegas or something like that.
Biggest little city in the world.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just driving along. I fucking forgot to turn my lights on because, like if I pull out of my driveway right now, or like my parking spot, I'm gonna turn my lights on because it's dark. I'll notice. And I'm driving down the street. I have no idea my fucking lights are off. And we get just past out of downtown and start headed towards Sparks in an area that's kind of dark. And I hear, woo! Get pulled over. The cop was obviously looking for drunk drivers because it was Memorial Day weekend. And if you're driving without your lights, most people are probably going to think you are drunk. That would be a good call. So good call on that cop. And he's like, "Have you been drinking, sir?" And I'm like, "No, officer." And he fucking shines a light in my eyes and sees they're not ready. Everything. Everyone in the car confirms I didn't have a drink at the restaurant. I hadn't drank that entire night because I knew I'd be fucking driving. And one thing I will say is, the people in the back seat, the car didn't have seatbelts in the back seat, and I was in the front seat, and I wasn't wearing mine because I just typically don't wear mine. And because, let's put it this way, if the Warthog gets in a car crash bad enough to where I need my seatbelt, I'm dead with or without it. That's the kind of car it was.
This is the 1980s. Okay. Crash test standards, not really there yet.
Yeah. I mean, granted, it was a steel frame. I've been in a car crash with that car before, and the person's my car had a small dent on it. The person's front left side of their car was just totaled.
Body on frame.
So steel frames for the.
No, it's body on frame.
Fucking A, sir. Steel frames. Oh. Anyway, back to what we were saying. He doesn't nail me for the seatbelt thing. He runs my ID. He's like, okay, turn your fucking lights on. Go, you stupid kids. You're not drunk drivers. He was a good cop. He was actually looking for, danger and trouble. I've had really good experiences with cops, is what me telling these stories on this podcast has made me realize. Anyway, we start driving, and I get about 2 blocks away from that cop, and the girl who at that time I'd been on 3 or 4 dates with is like, so is it bad to mention I had $60 worth of weed marked for resale in my purse?
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I am just, and I laugh at it.
And you didn't know?
And I did not know. No one knew except her. She didn't tell him. Here's the thing. And that is why I created the rule. If you are, first off, I realize some people that I know smoke weed, and I'm fucking okay with that. That's your life decision. But if you are going to bring it in my fucking car, tell me. That night is when the rule happened, where it's just okay, if you're bringing fucking drugs with you, please, tell me. Anyway, going back to what we were talking about. So yeah, that happened.
I'm assuming you two never spoke after that again.
One, No, no, I still talk to her every now and then, but definitely not dating that chick. And um and then and also actually three things came out. One, I now know never ever 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 ever, I don't care how attractive she is, pull a girl's number at the bus station. Uh Two, like I don't care if she is the fucking Stacy Keebler. I don't
I was thinking the same thing.
fucking no. That's that's part of it. Two is I learned when driving a car that I need to have a rule that like if you are carrying drugs, you have to tell me or else I'm not letting you in my car. And no hard drugs, weed only. Uh, and um, and third off, definitely was like, nope, this is not going any further. So yeah.
Yeah, that could have been bad.
Anthony, what are your thoughts on this story? I'm curious. I could have been bad.
It's oh man.
Anthony's like having a stroke right now.
No, I'm just like sitting here and I really don't know what to say. Like I really don't know what to say. This is kind of why when you're the driver, I mean, this is one of the things I keep in mind when I'm driving around is that, like for example, one of the things that I get angst about is that everyone has to put on their seatbelts when I'm driving. That's just something. Because here's the thing. Yes, I understand that if I get pulled over, it is
that is hard to do. That is hard to do when 3 out of your 5 seats don't have seatbelts.
Okay, well, I'm just saying when I drive with, the car I drive, I tell people to put on seatbelts because, like, here's the thing: is like, yes, if you get pulled over, the person who doesn't wear the seatbelt gets ticketed. But here's the other thing too: is that it's kind of like the captain on the airline flight. He is ultimately responsible for all the people in the vehicle. You are the person who's responsible for everyone in the vehicle, which is why if the officer had found out that one little detail, you probably would have been arrested for.
Yeah, which it kind of sucks the way it is because that's how it is. Like,
because here's the thing: it's like, for example,
if you're driving your friend somewhere, let's say he has cocaine in his pocket, and you could have no clue. Like, you could just be taking your friend somewhere, not know, and then you get pulled over. And your friend in your car gets busted for cocaine, you're going with them.
I mean, obviously, and you would have to go through the hassle of proving that you had no knowledge of what happened. Which is, that's kind of like what I think of sometimes. It's just like,
I mean, here's the difference, too. That, like, I have another friend of mine who smokes weed regularly, but, like, worst case scenario, like, one, she's smart, so she would say I had no idea, and I would definitely go along with that. Two, it's not, like, enough to really get you in any serious trouble. Maybe a joint's worth. It's not.
Yeah, and that's where North Carolina is a lot different. I mean, it's one thing. I moved from, like, one radical to the other with weed because in North Carolina, if you get caught with weed, it doesn't matter if you have a little bit. You're getting busted hard. Like, there's so many people I saw get arrested through high school, get weed, and they get jail time because of it. But over in California, it's just like whatever because, hey, if you want a medical card, just go to Venice Beach and go there with $30, $40 and tell them you have trouble. Just go in there and say you need a medical card. They're like, so you have a problem sleeping at night, right? Okay, well, I'm going to diagnose you with insomnia, and then because you're diagnosed with insomnia, you qualify for a medical card. It's literally that simple. I mean, I haven't got one because I don't smoke, but I know people who have, and literally I had a friend who told me that he went in to get a card, and they said, you have trouble sleeping at night, right? You have insomnia, so therefore you qualify for a medical card.
Here you can't like here there's not the medical option, but like one, it's really easy to get weed here, and two, cops just do not seem to give a shit. Like I've been walking downtown due to smoking weed, and I've seen a cop just fucking walk right past him, not giving a shit. Just like, So, I think the West Coast, especially the northern part of the West Coast, just does not care.
Yeah, North Carolina's they don't mess around with that stuff for sure.
And granted, I don't smoke weed. I tried it once in high school, and this is what I learned in the time I tried weed, once in high school, once in college. I turned into real life Snorlax, where I want to eat like 3 pizzas, not pieces of pizza, 3 whole pizzas, and take a nap. So I was like, man, I'm already fat and have sleeping problems, so I mean, this really doesn't do anything for me. So yeah. Yeah, so but here's the difference though. Here's the thing: if someone's carrying like a fucking joint worth of weed in my car, as long if we fucking cop pulls me over and asks you about it, you say it's fucking yours, and I say I had no idea, fine. And then then fucking they give you a small fine. That's it. Yeah, sure. But $60 worth of weed for resale? I don't care if you.
Yeah, you get busted hard for that because you're distributing at that point.
If you are anywhere but Washington or Colorado, you are fucked. You are beyond fucked. If you're in Seattle, they obviously don't give a shit because there's vending machines that sell weed now.
Are you serious?
Yeah, there's gonna be one
vending machines.
There's gonna be a weed vending machines in downtown Seattle soon.
Wow.
Do you know they've actually made a shit ton of money off of that too?
And how do they track? How do they keep that from kids from getting that then?
I think I forgot how it works.
I imagine the way they handle it is a lot like alcohol. I don't know. I think that's I don't know. I'm no expert.
Well, you can't buy alcohol in the vending machine though.
Yeah.
Because the problem is that even if they scan your ID, nothing keeps someone from, hey mom, can I borrow your ID first? Can I borrow your ID? Or hey, my friend who's
well, you can buy cigarettes from vending machines too, or at least here you can.
Oh, really?
No, dude, Nevada's a weird place. Let me
How do you buy? Well, cigarettes, that stuff. It just depends. So for example, I noticed. So cigarettes, most people never get carded for cigarettes. It's whatever, Alcohol.
Where the fuck do you live? Fucking, they card everyone here.
Oh, not over here, but everywhere is super tough on alcohol because with most restaurants, bars, stuff like that, nightclubs, if you lose your liquor license, you're pretty much shutting down. So liquor has always been tough. But cigarettes and stuff out here. Oh yeah, they don't even bother.
So imagine they do it the same way they do it with those, where it's just fucking these cigarette machines are only in bars and fucking adult stores.
Okay, so they're only where adults can usually get access.
Yeah, I imagine they'll do the same thing with weed. Also, the city of Seattle has made a shit ton of money off of the taxes on that weed. And personally, I think you should be able to fucking legalize it. Doesn't fucking, it's not any worse for you than alcohol is. And, hey man, this country's, what is it, 1.3 trillion in debt? That's something you can tax.
Dude. The United States is 7 trillion in debt.
Yeah, fucking,
I would prefer this does not get political, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
I'm sorry, we're getting a little too political here.
All right. I'm just saying weed, man, there is no harm in legalizing weed.
Okay,
None.
That's getting political.
Yeah, let's move along. Let's go back to comments and questions.
Hey man, let me tell you about hemp and all the uses for hemp.
Oh man, I've got to remember this quote from Super Mario Galaxy that I said, "I became the cloud and made the cloud as I ascended the galaxy." Is Mario.
Video games there are a lot of video games that are about drugs.
Well, Mario's just ever since you pointed it out, I just sat there and I looked at Toad and I'm like, I wonder what the inspiration of Toad was. I wonder what the inspiration of
Mario has a lot of drug references in it. If you
Super Mario games in particular, a spiked turtle is in a cat costume.
a mushroom and you get big. Like,
All right, I'm telling you how that cat costume happened. They did a whole bunch of mushrooms and other hallucinogenics, and we're watching cat videos on the internet. That's how that shit
Dude,
happened.
Bowser can be a cat, man.
And then we're gonna
Damn.
make 7 cat Bowsers, man.
and then you got like Saints Row 4, which is just that's people like tripping on acid to come
Dude,
up
Mario's
with
head is a spaceship.
a face ship.
Yeah.
Like Saints Row 4 is like you can tell like they were
Actually
tripping
Mario
on
is in
acid
some
when they did that.
Actually in Super Mario, you could argue that Super Mario is more whack than Saints Row because Saints Row is humor that at least has like, you know, connections to the real world. Like it's making fun
Saints
of
Row
modern
is
military.
at least aware of itself.
Yeah, and like makes fun of modern military and makes fun of the Matrix. Whereas Mario, it's like, where did these ideas come from?
Fucking Miyamoto.
You touch a star and you become invincible as you're running around and Goombas.
Look, I'm telling
And
you
these
how
little plumbing
like,
green pipes take you to completely different places.
well, like Miyamoto says the idea for his games comes from his life experiences, which tells me that Miyamoto being a fan of rock and roll music, growing up in, I believe, let's see, that man grew up in the 70s, right?
Yeah, I'd say about.
Yeah, he grew up in the 70s, is a fan of rock and roll music. Miyamoto had to experiment with drugs. He had to have. Look, my parents are in that same age group. In fact, they might be a tad younger. They experiment with drugs. They were very open about telling me that. You know, they were very open. It's like, if you're gonna do it at home. Do it, you know, be safe with it. So, but like, oh my god, don't make dumbass choices. Like, you know. So yeah, I'm telling you right now, Miyamoto experimented with drugs. That's where a lot of shit from Mario came from. So, Zelda came from when he was a kid exploring caves and shit. Mario came from when he was doing drugs in the basement playing guitar.
Okay, well.
Yeah, just completely quiet for that time. Oh,
Moving
God.
forward, please.
Oh
man, we're talking the Memorial Day story and now the inspiration of Super Mario, exposed to the children of the world.
Well, they're linked together, so.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
Man. I wish I had more of these storytime stories. Eventually, I'm gonna run out of them.
Oh, we'll come up with more.
Oh,
yeah,
we all live lives, I'm sure. I have. Once you run out, I have plenty of stories to chime in on. Trust me.
Okay, next time I'm here for story time, I'll tell the story of the first time I got blackout drunk.
Ooh, so which was the first time when Aaron, our former staffman Aaron nearly died.
Oh,
in the cold.
That Christmas party, yeah, that was.
We
that was a lot of
fun. I can give my story.
Story time of times when we nearly could have been. Or at least it's like times when Bronson could have been in deep shit.
I have an amazing story for the first time I ever went to Vegas and got drunk. I got a really good story there. It involves an old lady in Brittany Parks. I got a really good story there.
I remember that Skype call. That's what I remember from that. Aaron and I were on Skype, and you're just telling us how you can walk in a straight line and you're okay. And Aaron and I are just like, bullshit. Fucking, you are fucking hammered. You and Brittany and that other person you were with, I forgot who it was, were fucking hammered.
Oh, yeah.
So,
questions.
J Sway says,
it's 3 hours.
J Sway says, sad but true about WoW. Just thought of that would happen is absolutely terrifying to say the least. Can't think of a single other game that would cause that besides maybe League.
Yeah,
well,
so
the thing
Bronson, did you listen to last week's episode?
No.
So yeah.
So imagine if
we talked about, what he's referring to is what I said is imagine if for some reason just hell broke loose, okay? And this will never happen because Blizzard has probably 1 million backups. But let's just say that one day every person's World of Warcraft data, character, everything just completely was deleted and could not be recovered. Everyone's. like since beginning of time. And what we talked about is how I'm not exaggerating, I genuinely think that would probably start like World War III because of the fact that it's not everyone that plays World of Warcraft that's super insane, but there's people who have deprived their children, there's people who have starved to death, there's people who will refuse to use the restroom because they can't get away. There's people who have died because they don't sleep because they're so obsessed with World of Warcraft. So imagine these people have invested 10 years of their life into this game and it's now deleted.
I think
these people would go insane.
I think it would have the opposite effect, where it's like they would finally like go outside and see the sun for the first time, and like, what have I missed? It would be like Cast Away. Like it's just like, what year is it? Where am I?
I think it would be like that for some people, but think about it. There's been people who have killed their parents.
Bro, so just imagine right now all that you've worked. Just imagine all that you have worked for gone. To some people, losing their entire WoW account might do that to them.
That's to a lot of people. That's losing their life. And they might get to the point like, oh, well, I have nothing else to live for. I have nothing else to lose. So I'm gonna go make shit go crazy.
Now, here's the thing: Nick and I are fully aware that this is like an extreme minority, but 10,000 people is still a lot coming down on Blizzard headquarters. That's yeah.
All right.
I straight up said I live in Irvine. I live like 2 miles from Blizzard. If that shit happened, I'm freaking flying to my parents' place. I'm out of here.
Yeah, just
bunker up. I'm totally out of here because I'm not.
Nick, it's like that scene. It's like that you just see a mob just like marching in row with pitchforks and torches past your fucking apartment.
As for League, I don't think for League it's as bad because with League you probably have to start over, but actually I see that as kind of a perk for a lot of people because like, oh good, I get to start over. I get to, pwn some noobs as I level up to 20 and hey, I'm not going to be elo stuck in bronze anymore. I could actually be in silver for once and have a chance. Like, that's the case of League, and not to mention in League you have your skill set and all the characters are still there and you might have to repurchase them, but most of the stuff will still be there. Whereas with WoW, you've built an entire history for your character over the course of like 7 or 8 years. Like your character, all those raids, all that gear, all that shiny shields, all that stuff that you wanted to show off to your friends, gone. Man, that's like, yeah. Anyways.
So next question is from Kyo Tenchi. I'm planning to sell my X51 PC for at least $850 or less, or less laptop. Any opinions? I think it depends on the specs in it. If because that's kind of how PC parts go. I think like Nick's current computer, if you were to sell it whole, would probably be worth like $700.
Yeah, like my guesstimate for it was like somewhere between $400 to $500 minimum, I think.
Yeah, that's why I need to figure out what I'm going to do with it because
computers nowadays, they don't.
John would probably be willing to buy your graphics card depending on how much you'd want for
plus
it.
Shipping.
Plus shipping,
which is the expensive part. And you have to assume that UPS or USPS or whatever doesn't like abuse it.
Well, yeah, it won't be too expensive because you guys aren't that far from here, so it wouldn't be too expensive. But yeah, because a part of me almost says to just buy another case. That way, I could just sell this thing as is. That's what part of me says.
A complete system is you could probably get more out of a complete system, actually.
Yeah.
Hey, a new case, Nick. Add that to your $2,500 bill.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, is because here's the thing. If I sell it as a computer, I have a good chance of selling it for a decent price. But the graphics card I know could sell without a problem. 660 Ti could sell without an issue, no questions asked. The RAM I could probably sell. But then it comes to the time that, okay, I want to sell the processor. Who's going to buy a Phenom 2 X4 980? Who's going to buy the CPU with this overkill CPU fan, and who would buy just the CPU fan? So that's what I'm worried about. Like, I know I could sell the motherboard; it's dated, so who would buy just the motherboard? So that's what part of me is like, yeah, I probably would need to sell this thing whole.
But then you need to buy Windows. Because
I would need to buy Windows.
Because you can only keep one license on one PC. So
he has a retail license. It's just that whoever buys the computer either has to buy Windows or Nick provides his copy of Windows and he has to buy his own copy.
Well, so that's a question. So what do I do that? I'll bring that up right now because people listening might want to know. So when I take this apart and put the new motherboard in there, do I need to deactivate it on my current computer, or what do I need to do to make sure that it goes over to my new computer? As
far as I know, you just install it, but that's how it was with XP at least. Has that shit changed at all, Anthony?
Yeah, but XP was I'm not really sure because it's a retail copy. If it's not OEM, that means you should transfer. And it's a Google search thing. We gotta look. Is it possible to deactivate Windows and transfer it to another PC?
So So what would happen is, I would connect my hard drive to the motherboard, and it would just read that I already have Windows.
Yeah, probably.
No, you're not reinstalling the operating system. You're just plugging a hard drive, and that's it.
Well, I could do it either way. I mean, I could do it either way.
This is like a good question for another time.
Yes,
I'm not really sure. This is a Google search thing.
Yeah, we'll get back next week with that one. I just find myself using my $200 laptop and consoles more than a 2-year-old $1,100 gaming PC. I can't stop watching the Persona 5 gameplay trailer. It's so awesome.
It's certainly darker.
Yeah, fucking you're thieves, man. You're a team of thieves.
It's like, you think you can change into a persona? You are the persona!
Yeah, you don't summon them anymore, you turn into them. How fucking horrifying would that be for the first time, though? You're just like...
how does Link feel the first time he puts on a mask in Majora's Mask? Which,
horrible,
by the way...
because he's obviously screaming the entire time?
It's a child screaming in pain as the moon comes down from the sky to crush the town. Oh, joy.
I mean, like, if that was like an M-rated game, you'd probably hear his, like, bones cracking and his insides changing. Because, I mean, like, if you think about transforming into a Zora, he has to become, like, 2 feet taller and grow gills and fins.
Oh, man.
And, like, how horrifying is it, like... And then turning into a Deku Sprout is even worse, because he has to transform into, like, a tree, basically. Like, a sentient tree. Like, shit's fucking horrifying.
Wow.
Well, oh yeah. But, like, imagine, like, Persona! Oh god! What the fuck just happened? What, like, oh my god, I am Jack Frost. I am a ice monster, dear Jesus. Alright, so, moving forward. Yeah, I don't know. It depends on your parts in it. To get back to his original question, and yeah, the Persona 5 trailer does look rad. I love the music in it. The music's so good. Alright, Solid Kratos. Hello, guys. Hope you're doing great. Curious, what was everyone's first piece of gaming industry work? Review, video walkthrough. Now, look at what you do now, what you did then. How bad would you rate yourself?
I rate myself completely awful.
Yeah.
Negative 10 out of 10.
Yeah, if I were to rate this, I would give myself maybe a 1.5 out of 10. Total failure.
Yeah, my very first piece of work, I think, was just putting a video on YouTube. I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure I was just putting a video on YouTube.
If you want to get technical, my first ever piece of work was a blog over at Red vs. Blue. But so if you want to get really technical, what about you, Anthony?
It depends. If, like, game industry, does that mean anything game related, or does it, like, professional work? Quote, professional.
If we are saying, quote, professional, then it's the stuff we did over at GameCraft. What about you?
Yeah, so, what I did over at GameCraft, first professional work, I can't remember if it's a review or a montage video, because there were only two things I can remember. Is that one of the reviews I did was Pokemon Puzzle League on N64. That was a terrible review that was so atrocious that I literally can't stand watching it at all whatsoever today. It's just embarrassing.
Oh, why?
It was so bad. Because what I did was I put all the footage in order, and I would talk in real time over the footage, and if I screwed up, I started over. Whereas what I do now is the opposite. I lay out my narration and get the audio work done first, so that way I know exactly what footage to place on top, which is far more professional and looks much better than what I did back then. And it was such a bad review, too. It was just, I had the worst, drained, boring, monotone ever. And,
I remember my first video reviews were with Resistance 2, and I think it was Little Big Planet, and literally what I did is I set up my camera on a tripod and filmed my television screen as I stood behind the camera playing the game and talking over it.
I actually watched that.
Yeah, it's so bad.
I mean, we all have to start somewhere. I mean, like, you freaking, like, look at us now. It's like, heck, I have a video review coming soon, and it looks pretty awesome, I think, and I hope you guys find it awesome, but it was never like that. It's not like I was born with the magic gift of making good video reviews, and all you have to do is watch that Pokemon Puzzle League review to find out why I never had the gift. Freaking, I just had a capture card, I captured video, I narrated over it, I had the worst monotone ever, I gave it some score. I don't know. Forgot what I gave it, but... Alright, so... And the other one was the montage video, which I don't know if it came before or after, but if it was the first, the montage video, it was basically Metal Gear music, which introduced the Metal Gear Font Gamecraft logo. It was just a montage because Metal Gear 4 was huge and we were becoming PlayStation fanboys, so why not?
Alright, so next thing he says, Persona 5, Bronson, Persona 5, so hyped. Fuck yes. Like, I know I did my top 10 most anticipated list. I had Batman at number 1. Had that trailer come out before then, that would not have been the case. Any commentary on Persona 5, gentlemen?
No, well,
you know me, those just aren't my games.
I don't know, Nick. You should watch the trailer. You might be into it.
I will watch the trailer. I will do that.
It looks darker, and the way they edited that trailer kind of reminds me of like those 70s shows or something, like those intros from the 70s.
They said that they partially based it off Lupin the Third, which was an anime in the 70s about thieves.
Yeah, like that's what it reminded me of. And our discussion of Persona has made me start thinking, you know what, I'm going to give Persona 4 another chance when I have time and, you know, take it more seriously this time and actually focus on using more of the gameplay mechanics and paying attention to when they tell me things instead of blazing through like I normally do and learning things kinesthetically.
Alright, so next question. Just curious, any Valentine's Day plans? Any ladies you're taking out, guys? Or are you just going to stay home alone with video games?
Singles Awareness Day.
Well, I like how blunt he was about that. Just, are you fucking gonna stay alone and just ice cream and be sad?
I will be spending it with my girlfriend. Yeah.
Let's see. Anthony and I have that live stream. Me and
what Bronson and I are doing.
It's gonna be all single people watching too.
Yeah, so we can all be bitter and mean together.
And you know what, Bronson? You and I get to be more bitter and hateful at each other because it's Smash, it's Nintendo. We sit in the same room, so that's the perfect way to ruin our friendship.
Yeah, I need to talk
about... Just fuel Valentine's Day with hate.
Yep.
And everyone gets to watch it this Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Might as well plug that advert in there now.
Yes, guys. Also, streaming. I'm actually going to try to stream tomorrow, but by the time this podcast comes out, that stream will already be over in the future, guys. But as far as streaming, I can't promise all the time, but what I am doing is I am seeking to do at least 2 streams a week, but really 3. Usually my schedule allows me to stream for an hour or 2 on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday nights around 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So usually I stream around then.
So everyone, I'm getting a PlayStation camera soon. I intend to play through all of The Last of Us during a week. Due to my work schedule, it'll probably be later at night. So sorry, people on the East Coast. I'll probably be starting at like 8 or 9 at night in some cases. That's just how my work schedule is. But yeah. So look forward to me just being god awful at that game and being scared out of my mind. Yeah. As for Valentine's Day, Nick's spending with his girlfriend. John is gonna be with his girlfriend. I don't know what Bremen's doing. Tori, I assume she's spending with her boyfriend. I have no idea what. Or sorry, not Tori. Kyrie. Kyrie, I assume she's spending with her boyfriend. Tori and Stephanie, I have no idea. Bremen, I have no idea. I assume he's streaming with us because he's lonely and sad. So yeah, come join us on Valentine's Day. We love you. No one else does. So keep watching our stuff.
That is awful.
Bronson?
That is the worst promotion ever.
What are you doing? No one else loves you, so watch our content on Valentine's Day. Can you imagine our 50
all of a sudden takes a huge slump.
I mean, freaking, can you imagine the 15-second public service announcement advert from the Gamer Access if we were to do it?
The Gamer Access, no one else loves you, but we do.
Oh, man.
I mean, the thing is, though, like, hey, man, if you are spending Valentine's... Well, sorry,
the world doesn't care about you, but we do. Valentine's Day Smash stream.
And this is how the TGA cult starts.
Oh crap!
And we're on a cult watch list. Great. No, my current plans, being a singleton for that day, are to stream with Anthony, get our recording done, and then play Majora's Mask by myself. So, last question. Have any of you played Life is Strange, and what do you guys think of it if you have, and would you recommend it? Nope. Can't say I have.
I have not played it, but I heard it's actually very interesting.
I just looked it up. Oh yeah, they had that trailer on YouTube, and I
think they have a demo on the on the PlayStation 4 as well for that. So
yeah, it's published by Square Enix. It's episodic, and I looked that up and like, oh yeah, I remember seeing the trailer for that on YouTube when I was like watching various game videos and whatever. And it's interesting. Basically, the plot line is, girl lives a normal life, then finds out she can travel back in time, which, okay. And, change, like, maybe life choices that she probably regrets. I think that is what the story is. It's episodic. I feel like this story is this game, because it's episodic, is kind of like, it's trying to challenge the Telltale people. Because it kind of has that Telltale vibe.
Well, yeah, Telltale's
episodic
been
thing
running
to
that
it.
Market.
Yeah, because after The Walking
well.
Dead Season 1, they pretty much landed themselves on the map.
So, yeah, that's it. Do we got anything else we need to say, gentlemen, besides the stream?
Follow us on Twitter at The Gamer Access. Be sure to follow our Facebook, facebook.com/The Gamer Access. The raid will be coming back, so you guys got a pretty good taste of that this week. Sorry for people who are not into PC gaming. We had a lot of PC talk, but hey, maybe we could get you to slowly get back into PC gaming. I read something interesting. That EA, I think it was one of these past, it was either 2014 or 2013. EA made more money through PC than consoles.
That good sir is them free to play games.
Oh, that's true. That is true. Totally forgot about that. So, but still, regardless, a lot of people are like, PC gaming's dead. PC gaming's dead. No.
PC gaming is thriving.
Yeah.
The most popular games right now are on PC. What are the most popular games on Twitch? League, Dota, Hearthstone.
And all the big console games even come on PC. The only games that don't are your exclusives.
Yeah, Nintendo games, Sony first party, and Microsoft first party.
Yeah.
That's it.
All your multiplats. I can't remember the last big multiplat to not hit PC.
Oh, the sports games. Sports games don't.
Oh yeah, sports games they don't do, which is weird. Well, they do 2K. They put theirs on.
But no one else does. There's no Madden, no
Yeah.
Tiger Woods, none of that stuff.
EA should put Madden in 4K.
Fucking A. Now that would get me to fucking go buy a PC. All right, we're done here.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for listening. Stay tuned for next week. We're out.
Bye. We love you.